mortal rise through 100 reincarnations. Hello again, dear adventurers of the multiverse. Thanks for joining us once more on this epic journey. Remember, this story is pure science fiction from our wild imagination, so don't go trying to summon dragons in your backyard. The rights of this amazing novel belong entirely to its original author. We are only the narrators. Do you want more adventures? Show some love to our YouTube channel with a subscription and a like, and if you want exclusive content, our Patreon is waiting for you with open arms. Chapter 76, Returning to the Slope and Setting Up the Formation. 5 days later, at Xianzhou Mountain, at the Yunzhao Wharf in Dongshan City. After Zhao Sheng and the other two had moved Yu Yunzhao down, they passed Dongshan City without entering, instead flying directly up along the rock face of Xianzhou Mountain. 2 hours later, at an altitude of 18 miles, Zhao Sheng, flying his wooden kite, landed on a large, raised bluestone. Not far away, across from him lay the dark side fog sea. Zhao Jinjian then landed, sheathing his Qiang sword. His expression grave, he asked, could that place be within the Death Treasure Land? Indeed. Once inside, you must obey my instructions and do not act rashly, Zhao Sheng spoke, taking out the invisibility talisman and the phantom escape talisman and distributing them to the two. Finally, he placed the red scale armor on Zhao Xuanjing. Seeing his seventh uncle's seriousness, Zhao Xuanjing, who had never experienced the dangers of the Death Treasure Land, suddenly panicked. Seeing Zhao Xuanjing's nervous expression, Zhao Sheng comforted him, don't worry. I've been in and out of this place several times, and it's still fine. Besides, your fourth ancestor is still here. Yes, Zhao Xuanjing nodded, feeling a little relieved. After applying the invisibility talisman to himself, Zhao Sheng and the other two slowly squeezed into the sea of fog. 2 days later, Zhao Sheng dragged Zhao Xuanjing along, breathlessly diving into the Podu spiritual herb garden. They then hid in a cave on the mountainside before finally halting their escape. The two sat down against the rock face, breathless and filled with fear. After entering the Death Land, the first half of the journey went smoothly. However, on the final stretch, they were unlucky enough to be targeted by a golden-eyed dragon python. This golden-eyed dragon python had lived for hundreds of years and had already advanced to the second-level demon beast. Not only was its combat power comparable to that of a mid-stage Foundation establishment cultivator, but its bewildering golden eyes had also allowed it to see through the three's movements. Once again, the three were ambushed. If it weren't for the crucial moment, Zhao Sheng activated the illusion escape talisman, conjuring 9 illusory figures that fled, temporarily disorienting the dragon python. This narrowly saved the trio from disaster. However, the golden-eyed dragon python soon pursued them again. The trio cast 2 more illusion escape talismans, and finally, Zhao Jinjian, even risking his own life, proactively led the dragon python away. Only then was Zhao Sheng able to pull Zhao Xuanjing and flee to the sloped herb garden. After catching his breath, Zhao Xuanjing suddenly asked with a look of concern, "Seventh uncle, will our fourth ancestor make it out safely?" Zhao Sheng grinned and said, "Don't worry. Your fourth ancestor has been in the world of immortal cultivation for nearly 100 years and has faced all sorts of challenges. This little danger won't affect him." Despite this, Zhao Sheng felt a surge of anxiety. Quickly, he produced a guiding talisman and infused it with spiritual energy. The guide talisman instantly burned to a ball of ash, then emitted a ray of light and flew out, disappearing into the thick sea of fog. About half an hour later, just as Zhao Sheng was secretly thinking that something was wrong, a cry of surprise suddenly came from outside. Zhao Sheng was overjoyed and hurried out of the cave, only to see Zhao Jinjian, his body covered in blood, standing at the edge of the slope. At this moment, he stood there motionless, looking at the spiritual medicine field not far away with a look of surprise. "Huh? I'm glad you're okay." Zhao Sheng finally breathed a sigh of relief upon seeing this. Zhao Xuanjing also quickly rushed out of the cave. After seeing Zhao Jinjian, he immediately stepped forward with great concern and asked, "Fourth ancestor, are you okay?" "Nothing. Haha, I'm fine." Zhao Jinjian wiped the blood from his face and laughed. "Chong, you've given me a truly magnificent surprise. I'm curious, how did you find this beautiful place?" Zhao Sheng smiled and said, "Perhaps it was the blessing of our ancestors. I stumbled upon a treasure map, and that's how I found it." "You're quite courageous. Back then, you were only at the 3rd or 4th level of key refining, yet you dared to enter this land of death, and you actually found it. It seems my Zhao family's fortune is still strong." Zhao Jinjian enthusiastically entered the herb field, leaning down to caress each of the rare medicinal plants. Dragon Yan fruit, Kyongshin flower, 9-curve ginseng, purple key Ganoderma. Just then, a thought struck him, and he hurriedly asked, "Chong, did you find that red fire Ganoderma here too?" Zhao Sheng nodded in agreement, pulling out a jade box and saying, "Not one, but two. I still have the remaining one." In reality, Zhao Sheng had picked 3 red fire Ganoderma plants, but only one was used on Liu Kuji. Zhao Jinjian couldn't reveal this, lest he complain later. Upon hearing this, Zhao Jinjian rushed to Zhao Sheng's side, snatched the jade box, and opened it. Inside, he saw Ganoderma lucidum, blazing red like fire, its crown aglow like jade. Yes, it's the red fire Ganoderma. Haha, now Keiru has a chance of building his foundation, Zhao Jinjian exclaimed excitedly after confirming his progress. Of the dozens of cultivators in the Zhao family, aside from the elderly Zhao Jinding, only Zhao Keiru had reached the great perfection of key refining. It's undeniable that with the art of alchemy, cultivators' levels of cultivation rapidly improve, and Zhao Keiru is the most striking example. Zhao Jinjian didn't even mention Zhao Sheng's foundation building efforts. Firstly, Zhao Sheng was only at the 7th level of key refining. It would take at least 20 to 30 years for him to reach the great perfection of key refining. By then, the red fire Ganoderma's medicinal properties would have been greatly diminished, making it uneconomical. Secondly, it goes without saying that once Zhao Sheng reaches the state of great perfection in key refining, the Zhao family will help him build his foundation, even if they have to empty their nest egg. This point does not need to be stated, as the entire Zhao family has already reached a consensus. Hearing what the 4th ancestor said, Zhao Xuanjing beside him laughed foolishly. Zhao Keiru is his biological father, and it would be strange if he is not happy that his biological father can be promoted to the foundation building stage. Zhao Sheng watched the old man and the young man laughing heartily, and could only wait silently for the two to calm down. After a while, when the two stopped laughing, Zhao Sheng took out a large stack of jade tablets from the storage bag. These jade tablets are about 1 foot long, 3 inches wide and 3 inches high. The whole is like a piece of rectangular token, with a shimmering light on the surface, and countless cloud patterns engraved on the front and back of the tablet. Upon seeing the jade token, Zhao Jinjian asked in astonishment, "Chong, where did you get these formation bases? What formation is it?" First or second order, Zhao Sheng handed the jade token to Zhao Jinjian and explained, "This is the base for the second order flowing cloud illusion formation. 4th master, please deploy this formation on the slope." Formations are the most difficult of all the cultivation arts, traditionally challenging to learn and master. Formations cannot be casually deployed, they must be adapted to the varying terrain and spiritual veins. After a cultivator reaches the foundation establishment stage, their divine consciousness develops, making them far more sensitive to the changing earth veins and spiritual energy than even a key refining cultivator, making them the perfect candidates for deploying formations. Therefore, in the world of cultivation, only those who have reached the foundation establishment stage can begin studying formations, demonstrating the high barrier to entry. Zhao Sheng had not yet reached foundation establishment, so Zhao Jinjian had to do the work for him. Zhao Jinjian took the jade token, closed his eyes, and sensed it for a moment before bustling about the slope. An hour later, as Zhao Jinjian buried the last jade token into the earth vein, fog suddenly began to flow rapidly above the slope, and then a large mass of fog gathered here. After a few breaths, a burst of light surged from the ground, rising into the mist and quickly dissipating. The slope quickly returned to calm, seemingly unchanged from before. However, if an outsider looked towards this slope at this time, they would only see a thick fog. Even if they approached, they would only see a flat mountain wall. Thanks to book friend 2019122505362728 for the 500 coin reward. Baimayi thanked him. Chapter 77, The Land of Rise and Spiritual Plant Grafting. Hey, that's not right. Could this be the legendary mountain dragon? Inside the mountain dragon cave, Zhao Jinjian ignored the tree roots that filled the cavern, his gaze fixed solely on the mountainous remains of the mountain dragon, his expression awestruck. He eagerly ran over and touched the dragon's rough, petrified hide with his own hands, his expression instantly transformed into one of deep regret. What a shame. If it were still alive, how wonderful it would be. Nearby, Zhao Sheng, hearing this, was filled with resentment, thinking, If the mountain dragon were still alive, the three of us would have died long ago. Zhao Zunjing, on the other hand, paid little attention to the mountain dragon. Young and unacquainted with its fame, he was deeply intrigued by the spirit earthworms burrowing in and out. He happily ran over, scooped up one as thick as his arm, and toyed with it in his hands, shaking and caressing it with great pleasure. Seventh uncle, what is this? Why does it look like an enlarged earthworm? And the spiritual energy here is so dense. So much stronger than Taiwu Mountain, Zhao Sheng explained. Zunjing, this is a spirit earthworm, a close relative of the earthworm. The spirit earthworm was naturally gentle and non-aggressive. No matter how Zhao Zunjing played with it, it seemed unfazed, and instead grew closer to him. Zhao Sheng was puzzled by this, wondering if it was due to their similar attributes. Zhao Zunjing possessed three spiritual roots: earth, gold, and wood. He specialized in the infinite thick earth art, and his earth element spiritual energy was extremely pure. Zhao Jinjian, after Zhao Zunjing's reminder, suddenly realized the extremely high concentration of spiritual energy in the cave, rivaling that of a second-tier spiritual vein. He was overjoyed, and exclaimed excitedly, "Ancestors, bless us! Our Zhao family has a chance to rise." While Taiwu Mountain was beautiful, it could only support foundation establishment cultivators at best, but this cave was strong enough for cultivators to reach the golden core stage. More importantly, this spiritual cave is unique to the Zhao family, unlike Taiwu Mountain, which is a rented spiritual vein and faces the fear of being driven away every century. What does this mean? Zhao Jinjian knows exactly what this means. This is the Zhao family's last resort, meaning that even if the family declines or even falls to the brink of extinction, as long as this spiritual cave is kept secret, the Zhao family will eventually rise again. Only then did he suddenly understand why Chong had been acting so irrationally for the past decade or so. "Chong, you're great." Zhao Sheng smiled silently at Zhao Jinjian's incoherent and excited speech. As early as the day he discovered the mountain dragon cave, he had decided to make it the Zhao family's secret residence and the core secret base of the Anbu. And Zhao Zunjing was the one he had spent 10 years selecting as the current Anbu leader. In the past few years, he had made countless preparations, all for this day. At this moment, Zhao Jinjian suddenly asked eagerly, "Chong, do you still have the mountain dragon's Dragon Ball, huh?" Zhao Sheng's face faltered. Dragon Ball? He seemed to have forgotten to dig it up. 3 days later, Zhao Jinjian grabbed handfuls of spiritual soil and carefully spread them evenly across the medicinal field. Half of this spiritual soil was made from the excrement of spiritual earthworms, and the other half was made from crushed fragments of the mountain dragon's remains. After Zhao Jinjian's enlightenment 3 days ago, the three of them used their spiritual swords and magical instruments to excavate the mountain dragon's remains. It took them 2 days to carve a passage through the dragon's body, ultimately revealing a stone ball more than a meter tall in its abdomen. The stone ball was the Dragon Ball, but unfortunately, most of it had already petrified. Zhao Sheng carefully peeled away the Dragon Ball layer by layer, finally revealing a topaz ball the size of a human head. A silver lining in misfortune. A faint yellow light still rose from the ball, indicating that the last traces of the mountain dragon's essence remained within. Boom! A series of booming explosions echoed from the caverns in the mountain wall. A moment later, Zhao Sheng emerged from inside, walked to the edge of the ruins, opened his storage bag, and dumped a large pile of rubble into the abyss. A day earlier, the cave had begun its second round of large-scale renovations and upgrades. Training rooms, rest rooms, quiet rooms, talisman-making rooms, alchemy rooms, storage rooms, and a host of other cave dwellings were all to be built. Zhao Sheng calculated that completing the Zhao family's secret residence would take about a month. However, he planned to entrust the task of developing the cave dwelling to Zhao Zunjing. He and Zhao Jinjian had more important matters to attend to. Zhao Sheng tapped his foot softly, and his figure soared upward, landing on a hollow 3 feet high in the mountain wall. This hollow had been dug more than 4 feet into the wall, and the rubble had been cleared away, revealing a jagged, yellow-white wooden cross-section. A closer look revealed a dense network of rings. This was a massive wooden stake, over 4 feet in diameter. "Fourth Master," Zhao Sheng called out to Zhao Jinjian from afar. Upon hearing this, Zhao Jinjian straightened up, brushed off the spiritual soil in his hand, and replied, "I'll be right there." With that, Zhao Jinjian leaped into the air, covering a distance of 6 feet in a flash, landing beside Zhao Sheng. "Chong, are you sure?" he asked with concern. Zhao Sheng shook his head and said, "At most a 10% chance, but it's enough to take a gamble." Zhao Jinjian gazed at the massive tree stump, then recalled the incredibly thick roots in the cave. He fell silent. If it worked, he couldn't imagine what rare treasures would emerge. Zhao Sheng took out a bottle of purple cloud jade and handed it to Zhao Jinjian. He then took out the small Zhao Sheng talisman plate, which was ablaze with spiritual light, a halo of light. 72 18-fold spring breeze transforming rain talismans and 9 second-level sweet rain talismans were spread out on it. Zhao Sheng took a deep breath, his face solemn, and said, "Fourth master, proceed." "Yes," Zhao Jinjian nodded, and with a flick of his wrist, a crimson rainbow sword appeared. The next second, a flash of crimson light emanated from the crimson rainbow sword, which instantly sank into the tree stump. With a faint crack, a thin fissure, barely 3 inches long, appeared on the stump's surface. A day earlier, the two men had been horrified to discover the unusual material of the stump. It was incredibly hard. Even with Zhao Sheng's 7th-level key refining cultivation and a top-grade magic sword, he couldn't even scratch it. From this alone, the two men knew that the stump could at least be used to refine a spiritual weapon. Unfortunately, using it for that purpose would be a waste of natural resources. Bang! Crack! Sword light swirled, then vanished. Zhao Jinjian slashed with nearly 100 strikes, finally carving a crack over a foot deep through the stump. "All right," Zhao Sheng observed, and hurriedly stopped Zhao Jinjian. Seeing this, Zhao Jinjian stepped back, making room, his gaze fixed intently on Zhao Sheng's next moves. Zhao Sheng walked over to the crack and, with a wave of his hand, removed the spiritual peach branch from his spiritual plant bag. In the dim light, the branch shone with a vibrant emerald glow, its delicate beauty seeming even more vibrant. Zhao Sheng carefully inserted the lower end of the branch into the crack. Then, he quickly removed a bottle of purple cloud jade and poured it into the crack. He emptied the bottle, then, seeing it wasn't full, poured half more. Only then did Zhao Sheng step back, his eyes fixed on the crack, not missing a single unusual sign. "Thank you to fellow book friend Kang Lei Yu Sheng Ji Feng Wu Yu for the 1000 coin reward. Thank you to fellow book friend Yi Ho Hong for the 100 coin reward. Bai Mei thanks you." Chapter 78 The Mysterious Spirit Tree Resurrects. 1 breath, 2 breaths, 7 or 8 breaths passed, and the spiritual peach tree branches and the wooden stake seemed as quiet as before, showing no signs of abnormality. Seeing this, Zhao Jinjian felt anxious and couldn't help but ask, "Chong, did it fail?" The Zhao family had already paid a heavy price to support this fantastical experiment. Not to mention the purple cloud jade, even the 3 fallen green peaches, when ripe, could be exchanged for 10,000 or 20,000 spiritual stones each. "Don't worry, wait a little longer." Zhao Sheng had just finished speaking when suddenly the ground trembled and a faint humming sound emanated from underground. Suddenly, the purple cloud jade and the cracks of the tree stump rapidly descended, as if swallowed by an invisible mouth. "It worked," Zhao Sheng exclaimed in delight. However, at this moment, the emerald green spiritual peach branches dimmed at a visible speed, as if a large amount of vitality had been drained away. "Hurry up and fill the jade." Zhao Sheng's face changed drastically. Before he finished speaking, Zhao Jinjian flicked his right hand, and the purple cloud jade from the jade purifying bottle instantly flew out, forming a stream of water and landing precisely in the crevice. Zhao Sheng also rushed forward, desperately chugging the remaining half bottle of jade. However, they both underestimated the immense thirst for vitality and spiritual energy evoked by a mysterious spiritual tree, dead and dormant for countless years. In just a few breaths, 3 bottles of purple cloud jade were completely consumed. Zhao Sheng gritted his teeth, removed the remaining 7 bottles, and handed them to Zhao Jinjian. With a solemn expression, he lifted the small Zhao Sheng talisman plate. With a flash of thought, all 9 18-fold spring breeze transformation talismans instantly turned to ash. Instantly, a sea of fog, encompassing a 10-mile radius centered on the slope, suddenly churned. A massive vortex, formed with seemingly slow movement, as rays of spiritual light shot into the sea of fog. 2 breaths later, a massive vortex, shaped like a giant tornado, slowly descended upon Zhao Sheng's head. In a flash of his thought, a spiritual cloud, emitting intense vitality, quickly formed beneath the vortex. From the spiritual cloud, a patter of raindrops began to fall. These drops, imbued with vitality, landed on the wooden stakes, as if falling on a desert sand, and were absorbed in the blink of an eye. Zhao Sheng's face changed again upon seeing this. The next instant, another 9 18-fold spring breeze rain talismans turned to dust. Then came the third, the fourth. Zhao Sheng might not have known, or perhaps he knew but didn't care. As he released a large number of talismans, the tornado's vortex grew ever larger, eventually reaching a distance of 100 miles. This time, the commotion was truly deafening, alerting countless demonic birds and beasts. Furthermore, some of the cultivators caught in the crossfire were startled by the strange phenomenon. Some chose to stay away, but some, fearless enough, rushed in. Halfway through their journey, they inevitably ran into a herd of pursuing demonic beasts. Consequently, battles erupted one after another across 100 miles of the slope. Zhao Sheng paid no attention to the unfolding events outside the slope. With the release of 72 spring breeze rain talismans, Zhao Jinjian's 6 bottles of purple cloud jade dew were empty. If even the last bottle wasn't enough, he would only have 9 second-level sweet rain talismans left. But Zhao Sheng had tested it and found the sweet rain talismans weren't much more effective than 18 spring breeze rain talismans. Keep pouring, Zhao Sheng gritted his teeth and gave a decisive order. Zhao Jinjian nodded solemnly and poured the last bottle of jade dew into the crack. Zhao Sheng was about to unleash his final wave of talismans when suddenly, his eyes lit up with astonishment, his face a look of immense joy. At that moment, the wooden stake finally had a second reaction. The crack suddenly began to wriggle, healing in an instant, and the spiritual peach tree branch finally grew together with the stake. At this moment, faint white glows gradually appeared on the tree's growth rings, and a halo of light also appeared on the branches of the spiritual peach tree, creating a mysterious and miraculous look. It's alive. Chong, it's finally alive. Zhao Jinjian leaped up in excitement, his face filled with emotion. After all these years of hard work, he finally saw a glimmer of hope. Zhao Sheng suppressed his excitement and channeled his spiritual energy to maintain the spiritual cloud. Slowly, the spiritual rain grew heavier. The tree was no longer as hungry and indiscriminate as before. The life-giving water droplets rolled down to the base of the spiritual peach tree, eventually forming a small puddle. At this moment, Zhao Zunjing suddenly rushed out of the cave in a panic, looking up and shouting to the two of them, "Seventh uncle, fourth grandfather, those tree roots in the cave are alive." "Yes, I see," Zhao Sheng, his mind preoccupied with the spiritual peach tree, nodded nonchalantly. The resurrection of a mysterious spiritual tree always produces certain unusual phenomena. That's not uncommon. Zhao Zunjing scratched the back of his head and said gloomily, "But most of the spiritual energy in the cave has just been sucked away. The concentration has dropped significantly." "What?" Zhao Sheng frowned. "Oh no. A demonic beast has broken into the illusion." At this moment, Zhao Jinjian's expression suddenly changed. The red rainbow sword suddenly shot out, disappearing into the outer layer of mist. The next second, the red rainbow sword, stained with blood, flew back and hovered above Zhao Jinjian's head. "Chong, stop casting spells. It's too late, it's too late." Zhao Sheng's heart trembled at the words. He immediately waved his hands and released 7 or 8 spiritual energies, quickly dispersing the spiritual clouds above him. The tornado, without the spiritual energy to support it, quickly calmed down and dissipated. "Fourth Master, what's the situation outside now? Can the flowing cloud illusion formation hold up?" Zhao Jinjian's spiritual awareness had already expanded to its maximum range, capturing everything within a few dozen feet. His face darkened as he spoke. "The formation can still hold. As long as monsters below level 3 don't rush in blindly, they won't be able to discern the illusion. But there are many monsters roaming around the slopes right now. If we attract a large one, it would be disastrous." Zhao Sheng understood that these large ones were powerful monsters of the Jinden level. Jinden level monsters have developed a demonic consciousness akin to divine consciousness. And the illusions created by a mere second level flowing cloud illusion formation would be difficult to deceive them. Hide in the cave first, and leave the rest to fate. Zhao Sheng knew he was taking a risk this time, but as the saying goes, fortune and wealth are sought in danger. The path to immortality is filled with countless hardships and dangers. If you can't even take this little risk, then there's no point in cultivating immortality. Then, the three of them, each with a different expression, entered the cave. Zhao Sheng and the other two stepped back, while Zhao Jinjian stood aside at the edge of the cave, his Chang sword ablaze with light, ready for battle. A quarter of an hour later, Zhao Jinjian struck 3 times, luring away 2 monsters. 3/4 of an hour later, he struck twice, killing a first-level rock scorpion. An hour later, the surrounding monsters slowly dispersed, and the slope, though slightly damaged, remained largely intact. A month later, Zhao Jinjian joyfully departed the slope, carrying a storage bag full of spiritual soil and 3 carefully selected spiritual herbs. Thanks to the Buck Friend Planetary Shuttle, only wonderful for the 500 coin tip. Thanks to the Buck Friend Shanshan Shuttle, only wonderful for the 100 coin tip. Baimayi thanks you. Chapter 79, Learning to Let Go and Building a New Foundation. Time flies, and 2 years have flown by in a flash. On the slope, beneath a spiritual peach tree, Zhao Sheng sat cross-legged on the cross-section of a wooden stump, eyes closed, cultivating his inner energy. A cloud of mist enveloped him, a lingering presence. Behind him, the tree had grown to over 2 meters tall, radiant with spiritual energy. Its arm-thick branches were covered in fine scales, and its leaves, like jade, shone with flecks of white light. Over the past 2 years, the mysterious tree's gradual revival and growth had brought Zhao Sheng considerable surprise. A year ago, as the cave's spiritual energy concentration slowly returned to normal, Zhao Sheng suddenly discovered that the grafted tree possessed a natural ability to track both wood and water spiritual energy. Initially, the concentration was only slightly elevated. Recently, Zhao Sheng was delighted to discover that within a 3-meter radius of the tree, the spiritual energy concentration rivaled that of a first-tier spiritual vein. This was particularly true because the tree primarily absorbed wood spiritual energy, leaving the remaining water spiritual energy to benefit Zhao Sheng. Furthermore, the cloud scattering robe also partially functions as a spirit gathering array. Combined, Zhao Sheng's cultivation progressed at a rate surprisingly faster than even Taiwu Mountain. An hour later, Zhao Sheng slowly wound down his practice, and Zhao Xuanjing, seemingly at the perfect moment, arrived beneath a spirit peach tree. Zhao Sheng opened his eyes, looked at Zhao Xuanjing, and asked, "Have you finished your homework?" Zhao Xuanjing grimaced and whispered, "Not yet. I failed again." Zhao Sheng frowned and scolded, "In 3 months, you've wasted hundreds of sheets of talisman paper, and you haven't even succeeded on one. How can I say anything good about you, 7th uncle? That magma talisman is too difficult to draw. It's better not to learn it," Zhao Xuanjing said, a rare moment of resistance. "If you don't learn to draw talismans, what can you do? You can't refine weapons, let alone the delicate work of refining elixirs. Are you going to end up learning the hard work of building mansions and houses like those spirit craftsmen?" Zhao Xuanjing's eyes lit up, and he nodded repeatedly. 7th uncle, I love opening caves the most. This secret mansion in our family was opened by me. Building houses is also fine. I think being a spirit craftsman is also good." Zhao Sheng suddenly jumped up and slapped him on the waist, scolding, "Good as hell. I've put so much effort into helping you build your foundation, not to become a craftsman. Besides, how many spirit craftsmen can actually build a foundation?" Zhao Xuanjing's skin was thick and tough, and he felt no pain from the slap. He was only 18 years old, but he was nearly 10 feet tall, with a towering body like an iron tower, looking like a giant. Zhao Sheng, standing next to him, was as small as a child. It was hard to tell whether this was due to his natural constitution or the result of his practice of the infinite thick earth art. In fact, by this point, Zhao Sheng himself was almost giving up. Aside from his decent training speed and a few earth-based spells, Zhao Xuanjing's other skills were a complete mess. Calling him dumb was a compliment, he was simply a block ahead. "Forget it, since you can't learn, don't draw talismans anymore. There are 2 bodybuilding techniques in the Sutra library, one of which is a fragment of the Zhuanghuang war body. You should learn that one so you don't waste your gifted body." 7th uncle, I've already learned that, Zhao Xuanjing said, his body suddenly expanding by 3 inches. His exposed skin instantly gained a layer of gray-white rock armor, and a yellow aura erupted from his body, making him look like a giant spirit. "Good boy, you've even learned to hide it from me," Zhao Sheng scolded with a smile. "I wasn't afraid of your scolding," Zhao Xuanjing said, rubbing his head. "Scolding you is the least of my worries. Since you've learned the bodybuilding techniques so quickly, why didn't you tell me earlier? It would have saved me some irritation." 7th uncle, Xuanjing knows he was wrong. "You're right, I was." Zhao Sheng patted Zhao Xuanjing's arm and sighed. From then on, Zhao Sheng, apart from paying attention to Zhao Xuanjing's cultivation, did not interfere with his other behaviors. Zhao Xuanjing was almost overjoyed at his 7th uncle's letting him go, so the slope began the 3rd round of large-scale cave reconstruction. Day by day, a large number of new stone chambers, stone tables, stone benches, and even stone figures and stone sculptures were opened up and shaped by Zhao Xuanjing. In the end, Zhao Sheng looked at hundreds of empty stone chambers with an extremely helpless expression. Another month passed, and the illusion array outside the slope suddenly fluctuated, and then two figures broke into the slope from outside. Under the spirit tree, Zhao Sheng suddenly opened his eyes, looked down, and a happy smile instantly appeared on his face. The people who came were none other than Zhao Jinjian and Zhao Keru. Zhao Sheng floated in front of the two men. Seeing the much younger Zhao Keru, he excitedly asked, "Uncle Ru, you've advanced to the foundation establishment stage?" Zhao Keru couldn't help but smile and nodded, "Yes. Thanks to that red fire Ganoderma, great. Now our family has two foundation establishment cultivators. We finally don't have to worry about the risk of decline." Just as Zhao Sheng finished speaking, Zhao Xuanjing suddenly shouted in surprise from the cave entrance, "Dad, why are you here, you little bastard? Are you upset to see your dad here?" "No." Zhao Xuanjing hurried over, bending down as much as he could, looking at his father ingratiatingly. Zhao Keru patted his head and exclaimed, "It's been over 2 years, and you've grown so tall, Dad. I'm already at the 4th level of key refining," Zhao Xuanjing boasted. "Haha, the 4th level of key refining is nothing. Your dad has already reached the foundation establishment stage?" Zhao Keru scolded with a smile. "Really?" Zhao Xuanjing's eyes lit up at this. A day later, at the slope medicinal field. "Oh, who planted this? How can you plant ground fat with common grass? They're mutually exclusive." "Oh, they planted it so densely, they're just amateurs. The dragon fruit loves water, look how wilted it is. It must be a special spiritual place here, otherwise most of the spiritual herbs would have died long ago." Zhao Sheng sat under the spiritual peach tree, pretending to cultivate. He listened to Zhao Keru's constant chatter below, his face flushing slightly. Back then, he knew nothing about pharmacology and had planted those spiritual herbs haphazardly. These past few years, seeing the spiritual herbs growing well, he hadn't paid much attention to them. But it wasn't a big mistake, just a minor oversight. With the help of a professional alchemist and pharmacist, not only was the sloped spiritual herb garden renovated, but Zhao Keru also turned the mountain dragon cave into a medicinal garden, planting ground fat, ghost mushrooms, longevity cattails, 6 mysterious beads, and other spiritual herbs that prefer shade to sunlight. 10 days later, Zhao Sheng saw Zhao Keru thoroughly enjoying himself, so he confidently followed Zhao Jinjian out of the secret abode and back to Taiwu Mountain. Having not been home for over 2 years, Zhao Sheng heard that the younger students at the Xuxin Academy were getting a bit restless, and the atmosphere was deteriorating. This time, he had to quickly stamp out this unhealthy trend, otherwise, once it took hold, it would be too late to correct it. 7 days later, when Zhao Sheng took the podium again, the 16 Zhuan-level students in the audience were stunned, their bodies frozen in place, as if petrified. "Class, thanks to fellow book friend Luo Ji, the 3-body villain, for the 500 coin tip. Thanks to fellow book friend Gui for the 100 coin tip." Beimut Yi thanked him. Chapter 80, Love. Ugh. In the quiet room, Zhao Sheng suddenly groaned, his face instantly pale. Fighting the pain of his spirit being shattered, he removed the divine slashing pearl from his brow. Looking at the figure looming within the jade bead before him, Zhao Sheng's expression was slightly depressed. "Alice, Yu Qinghan. What on earth do you mean by giving me something I can't use?" Zhao Sheng couldn't help but sigh, casually returning the divine slashing pearl to his storage bag. Over 30 years ago, during a meeting at Xiansu Mountain, he had received the divine slashing pearl from Yu Qinghan. Over the years, every time he probed his divine will into the jade bead, he was met with a slash of sword light. No matter how hard he dodged, even with bullet time, he couldn't avoid it even for a moment. In an instant, his divine will was severed by the sword, and he was immediately overcome by a splitting headache, and mentally damaged. He exited the jade bead. As a result, his swordsmanship hadn't improved much over the years, but the strength of his divine will had greatly increased. This in turn indirectly improved his skill in drawing talismans and making scrolls. After catching his breath, Zhao Sheng pulled out a bottle of revitalizing pills, poured out a pill, and swallowed it. Soon, his mind felt refreshed, and the intense headache instantly subsided. The revitalizing pill was a second-tier elixir recorded in the alchemy manual of Kaiongshan's Henrun. After Zhao Keru's advancement to foundation establishment, his alchemy skills improved dramatically, and in the third year of his retreat in the secret abode, he successfully refined a full batch. Zhao Sheng was overjoyed upon learning of this. Over the years, his divine will had been shattered countless times, yet he had quickly recovered, all thanks to the revitalizing pill. After his spirits improved significantly, Zhao Sheng summoned the Book of 100 Worlds and turned to the 4th page. The data panel then appeared in his mind. Name, Zhao Chong, Zhao Sheng, lifespan, 62/97 realm, 9th level of key refining occupation, quasi 2nd level talisman master, 7/10, constitution, 4 spiritual roots, yellow level, primary self-healing, mortal level, talents, spiritual smell, yellow level, bullet time, yellow level, hand of rock, mortal level, skills, cultivation technique, Zuanlingguang, perfection, talisman stacking technique, minor success, 18 stacks, spells, 1000 silk sword rain, great success, refraction technique, perfection, water dragon chant, minor success, water mine technique, minor success, marrow burning technique, entry. Talisman making, invisibility talisman, mastery, flowing cloud sword talisman, mastery, soul condensing talisman, 2nd level, great success, sweet rain talisman, 2nd level, minor success, phantom escape talisman, great success, illusion talisman, 2nd level, perfection. Martial arts, 9 transformations of cloud dragon. Looking at the data on the dashboard, Zhao Sheng lamented the fleeting passage of time, yet felt reasonably satisfied with his progress. After all, he only possessed 4 spiritual roots. Even with ample elixirs and spirit stones, the upper limit of his refining and absorption abilities was there, and he couldn't speed up even if he wanted to. I've just passed my 60th birthday, which gives me 3 opportunities to break through to the foundation establishment stage. Well, that's more than enough. A faint smile crossed Zhao Sheng's face as he put away the Book of 100 Worlds and stood up, leaving the quiet room. As he left the room, his brows suddenly furrowed, his expression darkening. He turned to look towards the corner and sternly said, Zuanan, what are you hiding? Get over here. Oh, Uncle 7th, I knew I couldn't hide it from you. Zhao Zuanan, his tracks exposed, quickly emerged from his corner, trotting to Zhao Sheng's side, flattering him. By this time, Zhao Zuanan was already in his 30s, having evolved from a dashing young man into a refined, mature, and handsome man, still looking remarkably youthful, perhaps in his 20s at most. Seeing him still display that same unruly demeanor, Zhao Sheng was furious and berated him. Look at you, you're already in your 30s, yet you're still immature. Are you hiding here because you're in trouble again? Zhao Zuanan nodded repeatedly, gave a thumbs up, and praised, 7th uncle, that's what you're doing. My mother is urging me to get married again today, and you know my temper. So, I'm staying with you for a while to avoid the spotlight. Zhao Sheng frowned and said flatly, no. If that were all, you wouldn't dare approach me. Tell me, which of your female Taoist friends has come to Taiwu Mountain? Zhao Sheng's suspicions were based on Zhao Zuanan's long criminal record. Ever since this young man first fell in love at 16, his playboy nature quickly became apparent. Who knew where he inherited it from? He was gifted with a sharp tongue, handsome, and a knack for keeping his head down. Since graduating from the Immortal Cultivation Academy at 18, Zhao Zuanan had let loose, racking up countless romantic affairs over the past decade, earning himself the nickname Lord of Peach Fate. Sometimes, Zhao Sheng wondered if the abundance of peach trees on Taiwu Mountain had caused Zhao Zuanan's romantic fate. It seemed like a lucky streak now, but he wondered if it would turn into calamity. As Zhao Sheng pondered this, he heard Zhao Zuanan say gloomily, 7th uncle, you have to help me. I'm your only direct disciple. My mother's pressing me, and now Xia Feng's coming knocking. I'm at my wit's end. Zhao Zuanan was right. He was the only one in the entire Zhao family who could inherit Zhao Sheng's talismanic legacy. Over the years, the Zhao clan's Zhuan generation has grown to 23 members, 4 of whom have a decent talent for talismans. However, even after Zhao Sheng passed down the art of stacking talismans for so many years, only Zhao Zuanan has successfully cultivated it. This alone suggests that Zhao Sheng must have highly valued Zhao Zuanan. But what Zhao Sheng couldn't tolerate was that Zhao Zuanan actually. Zhao Sheng slapped Zhao Zuanan in the face and shouted angrily, whose daughter is Xia Feng? The previous Xiaolin and Xiaohu haven't been resolved yet, and you're involved in another romantic debt. Are you going to piss off your mother to death? Zhao Zuanan touched his head and said aggrievedly, "Seventh uncle, Xiaolin, Huahu and I are all in true love, and I am a romantic person, but not vulgar. But this time Xia Feng is different, she is persistent, and I remember that I clearly didn't provoke her." Without waiting for Zhao Sheng to scold again, Zhao Zuanan said with a sad face, "I'm miserable this time. That Xia Feng is the eldest daughter of the medicine Immortal Jie family. I heard that her grandfather is a Jindan's Henren." Zhao Sheng was shocked after hearing this, and immediately asked, "Tell me, how did you provoke her? You are clearly bringing disaster to Taiwu Mountain. The Dansheng Jie family is renowned in southern Xinjiang. It's no ordinary immortal cultivation family, but one of the 7 great alchemy families, on par with the Danfoliu family and the Yeoxin Sun family. While the family lacks a nascent soul ancestor, it boasts over 5 golden core true immortals. The Zhao family pales in comparison." Zhao Zuanan pondered for a moment, then said aggrievedly, "I think I drew a photo talisman for her during the reunion at Yaolin Cottage 2 months ago, but the other sisters have too, not just her," Zhao Zuanan emphasized. Upon hearing this, Zhao Sheng was furious. A photo talisman, as the name suggests, is a talisman that can conjure a figure and further enhance its image. It's a new first-level talisman that Zhao Sheng successfully derived 8 years ago by combining Old Man Li's erotic talisman with a second-level illusion talisman from the Secret Talisman Sutra. In order to teach Zhao Zuanan the illusion talisman, he also taught Zhao Zuanan the photo talisman. Who knew he would actually use it to seduce women? "Pa, this worthless brat." But Zhao Sheng quickly calmed down. This time was different from the past. If he didn't handle it well, it might really bring disaster to the Zhao family. It really can't work. Zhao Sheng glanced at Zhao Zuanan, secretly sulking in his heart. "Tell me quickly, how did you meet? How did you get together? Don't hide anything." Zhao Zuanan recalled, "Xiao Feng's name is Jeffinger. Half a year ago, I went to Jiuding Market, thanks to book friend Jing Zuolingain for the 1,500 coin reward. Thanks to book friend Du Dai Wang for the 100 coin reward. Thanks to book friend right, for the 100 coin reward. Payment about ingratitude." Chapter 81 3 Steps to Building a Foundation. 5 months later, Taiwu Mountain was festooned with lights and colorful banners. From dawn on, waves of envoys from various immortal cultivation families and sects arrived to congratulate the Zhao family on another newlywed couple. Zhao Jinjian, the Zhao family's foundation establishment patriarch, personally attended the foot of Taiwu Mountain, welcoming each of his fellow foundation establishment practitioners. Next to him, a member of the Jie family, who had reached the great perfection of foundation establishment, greeted them. The arrival of a Jindan's Henren from the Jie family instantly ignited the festive atmosphere on Taiwu Mountain. From then on, every immortal cultivation force within 1,000 miles of Taiwu Mountain knew that the Zhao family had ascended to the rank of the alchemy saint, the Jie family. That same year, Zhao Jinjian resigned as patriarch, and Zhao Zuanan smoothly succeeded him. 2 years later, Zhao Sheng reached the great perfection of key refining. That same year, Zhao Zuanan had a son, named Zhao Tuangxin. Xianzhu Mountain, the Zhao family's secret residence. When Zhao Sheng stepped onto the slope again, the first thing that caught his eye was an ancient, lush, and leafy peach tree, over 3 meters tall. Its body shimmered with spiritual light, its leaves and branches shimmered with jade, and a cloud of mist enveloped it. At first glance, the tree was unmistakably divine, resembling a legendary celestial tree from the spiritual realm. Zhao Keru, busy in the herb field, looked up and saw Zhao Sheng and jokingly said, "Chong, how did you, such a busy man, find time to come to the secret residence?" Zhao Sheng walked to the edge of the herb field and said with a smile, "I've got a treasure for you. I'm sure you'll like it." "What treasure? Hurry and bring it here." Zhao Keru's eyes lit up, and he urged. He knew Zhao Chong had very high standards. Anything he considered a treasure must be something truly extraordinary. Zhao Sheng smiled faintly and flicked his wrist. Suddenly, a small, 3-legged, 6-eared, red gold cauldron, its surface covered in spiritual symbols, appeared in his palm. "A spiritual alchemy cauldron," Zhao Keru exclaimed, his eyes fixed on the cauldron, unable to move. He rushed out of the medicinal field in a few steps, snatched up the spiritual alchemy cauldron, and caressed it lovingly. This cauldron is called the Nine Extinguishments, a mid-grade spiritual artifact. Contained within it are 9 strands of extinguishing wind, which can cleanse elixirs of impurities and elevate their quality, Zhao Sheng explained with a smile. This 9 extinguishment spiritual cauldron was part of Jefenger's dowry. Since Zhao Keru was the only second-level alchemist in the Zhao family, Zhao Sheng had brought it along with him on his visit to the secret abode to build his foundation. Wait a moment, I'll refine one furnace first, Zhao Keru said, turning away and walking away, completely oblivious to Zhao Sheng. Zhao Sheng shook his head and smiled, unconcerned. He knew Zhao Keru was an alchemy fanatic, and such behavior was perfectly normal. Moments later, Zhao Xuanjing suddenly ran out of the cave. Seeing Zhao Sheng, he happily exclaimed, "Seventh uncle, you're finally here, huh? You're so anxious? Do you have a lover back in Dongshan City?" Zhao Sheng quipped. Zhao Xuanjing blushed profusely and argued, "Seventh uncle, you're wrongly accusing me. I'm just happy to see you." Haha, Zhao Sheng smiled but said nothing. Compared to the playboy Zhao Xuan, Zhao Xuanjing was a pure and innocent boy. It was a pity he was already in his 30s, but because he had been stationed in the secret residence for years, he had never even tasted a woman. Seeing Zhao Xuanjing's increasing embarrassment, Zhao Sheng put away his smile and warned, "Xuanjing, you must be more cautious in Dongshan City. You are too naive. Be careful not to be deceived." With that, Zhao Sheng stuffed a bunch of talismans into Zhao Xuanjing's hands, including invisibility talismans, spirit-suppressing talismans, and phantom escape talismans. He patted his arm and said, "Go. Don't forget to return in a month." "Yes," Zhao Xuanjing nodded. Suddenly, as if remembering something, he hurriedly asked, "Seventh uncle, can you give me that Dragon Ball? Xiaojin is about to metamorphose, and I think with the Dragon Ball's help, it can metamorphose faster." Zhao Sheng was stunned by this and immediately shook his head, refusing. "No, I have another great use for that Dragon Ball." "Oh," Zhao Xuanjing said, somewhat disappointed. The Xiaojin he was referring to was a golden-ringed spirit earthworm over 7 feet long, considered the most promising of the group. If this metamorphosis succeeded, its length would exceed the 10-foot limit, successfully advancing to a second-level spirit insect. If it could continue to metamorphose, once Xiaojin's length exceeded 100 feet, a fledgling mountain dragon would emerge. After Zhao Xuanjing left the secret residence with a look of disappointment on his face, Zhao Sheng floated to the foot of the spirit peach tree and sat cross-legged. Sensing the rich, refined water spirit energy around him, Zhao Sheng nodded with satisfaction. Then he closed his eyes and practiced the Zuan Linguang, gradually refining the surrounding spiritual energy. A month later, when Zhao Xuanjing returned to the secret residence, Zhao Sheng had finally reached his limit, his spiritual power cultivation reaching its limit. That day, he handed the storage bag to Zhao Keru and Zhao Xuanjing, father and son, and gave them all instructions. Finally, he sat cross-legged beneath a spiritual peach tree, his eyes closed, and began to concentrate. Zhao Sheng didn't immediately achieve a breakthrough, but instead rehearsed the 3 major steps of foundation building. According to ancient records, the advancement of ki refining to foundation building involves the formation of ki, body, and spirit. The first step is the qualitative transformation and liquefaction of spiritual power. The second step is the spiritual power cleansing the body, greatly increasing lifespan, and the final step is the breaking of the purple mansion and the concentration of spiritual consciousness. Only when all 3 steps are achieved can one be considered a successful foundation. Breaking the purple mansion is the most treacherous step, with 9 out of 10 foundation builders failing at this point. Failure, under the impact of spiritual power, can cause a cultivator to suffer severe mental damage at best, or even mental breakdown and become an idiot at worst. Zhao Sheng's closed eyes suddenly opened, reflecting the conviction that success is the end of the world. He was not afraid of death, failure was the last resort. Zhao Sheng took out the foundation establishment pill and swallowed it without hesitation. With a loud boom, it felt as if a volcano erupted within his Danshan Qi Sea. Instantly, streams of incredibly pure spiritual energy surged into the Danshan Qi Sea, continuously merging into the spiritual energy vortex. The spiritual energy vortex, already swollen to its limit, instantly emerged from his body, expanding even further and more than doubling its speed. Zhao Sheng couldn't help but groan. However, his mental strength, far superior to that of an ordinary cultivator, immediately controlled the vortex that threatened to spiral out of control and began to refine the incoming spiritual energy with all his might. After countless revolutions, a drop of transparent spiritual liquid finally condensed beneath a mist-like spiritual energy vortex. With the appearance of this first drop of liquefied spiritual energy, the spiritual energy began an irreversible transformation. In a blink of an eye, a second drop, a third drop, countless drops of liquid spiritual energy rapidly condensed and formed. At this point, the gaseous spiritual energy vortex collapsed with a bang. After a few breaths, a delicate spiritual liquid vortex, now infinitely smaller, suddenly formed deep within his danshan. When the transformation of his spiritual energy was complete, Zhao Sheng silently practiced the Zhuan Linggong over and over again. As the liquid spiritual energy flowed through his limbs and bones, his meridians and 8 extraordinary vessels, he could clearly feel his cells growing stronger, his meridians and bones strengthening, his blood and bone marrow becoming increasingly red. Zhao Sheng knew this was a process of purging his hair and cleansing his marrow, a complete transformation. Thanks to the bug friend who brought Su Jinhui the joy of the world for the 1,500 coin reward. Thanks to the bug friend who took Han Xin away for the 100 coin reward. Beima Yi thanked him. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 82 Sword cuts through the Purple Palace, building the foundation. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. Time slipped by, and a thick layer of dark yellow blood slowly surfaced on Zhao Sheng's body. These were impurities deep within his body, as well as hidden tissue injuries from past congestion. The ultimate goal of a cultivator's practice is immortality, and during this process, physical fitness naturally and continuously improves. Reaching the foundation establishment stage marks the first qualitative change, shedding the mortal form and evolving to a higher level of life. It's like a piece of stone, gradually transformed into a beautiful jade through polishing and refining. Eliminating impurities within the body is like tempering oneself, accelerating the process of becoming jade. These changes are subtle, but the effects are incredibly noticeable. It's unclear how much time had passed, but suddenly, Zhao Sheng felt his mind clear, his thoughts swift as lightning. At that moment, a sudden realization struck him: he had achieved the second step of foundation establishment. Zhao Sheng remained neither sad nor happy, his mind elevated to its highest level. He silently mobilized the spiritual energy within his danshan, and a stream of liquid spiritual energy began to flow upstream along the 12-story meridians. Guided by divine will, this wisp of spiritual energy quickly reached the barrier of the Purple Mansion. At that moment, Zhao Sheng's mind flashed with inspiration, and a flash of sword light suddenly emerged. Countless experiences of being slain coalesced into a brilliant sword beam. The sword's gleam, like lightning, easily split the Purple Mansion apart. In an instant, the dark and silent Purple Mansion became a newborn world. The sword's light pierced through the darkness, illuminating the first ray of divine light ever seen. Like a seed, the divine light sprouted and flourished as more spiritual energy poured into the Purple Mansion. Then, involuntarily, it broke through the Purple Mansion and expanded violently outward. In the next instant, Zhao Sheng suddenly saw everything within a radius of 14 feet. From the vast, watching Zhao Zhuanjing and his son from afar to the smallest, even the water vapor particles in the air, every detail was as clear as the lines on the palm of his hand. The Purple Mansion's divine consciousness had awakened, marking the successful completion of the third step of foundation building. Zhao Sheng gradually drew his spiritual energy back into his danshan, his divine consciousness converging. At the same moment, clouds of water suddenly coalesced around him, transforming into a cascading waterfall, washing over him. The blood-stained waters then snaked and transformed into a water dragon, as thick as a bucket and 5 or 6 feet long. With a flick of its tail and a raised head, the dragon soared down the slope before exploding with a bang and plummeting into a chasm. At this moment, Zhao Sheng's eyes snapped open, a divine light radiating for more than an inch before vanishing in an instant. So that's how it is, haha, Zhao Sheng exclaimed in ecstasy, leaping to his feet and bursting into laughter. After 4 reincarnations, he had finally reached the foundation establishment stage. At this moment, Zhao Keru, beaming, stepped forward and praised, "Chong, congratulations on your advancement, 7th uncle, you're incredible. You did it on your first try." Zhao Zhuanjing also leaned forward, unable to contain his amazement. Snap! Upon hearing this, Zhao Keru slapped him on the thigh and scolded, "What are you talking about, little brat? If you can't speak, then don't speak." Zhao Sheng suppressed his smile, looked at the father and son, and advised, "Uncle Ru, there's no need to make a fuss. Ginger has always been like this. Don't be too harsh." Zhao Xuanjing quickly said, "Seventh uncle is right. I've always been slow with words. Dad, you don't have to hit me all the time. Besides, I'm already over 30, no matter how old you are, you're still my son. It's only natural for me to hit my son." Zhao Keru finished his argument confidently, then slapped his son again. "Dad, you're right," Zhao Xuanjing said honestly. He was a man of steel, and the force was like a spring breeze, feeling no pain at all. Nearby, Zhao Sheng watched the father and son interact in such a unique way that he couldn't help but smile. After establishing his foundation, a cultivator's strength will experience a period of rapid growth, and Zhao Sheng was no exception. After a day of brief relaxation, he immediately returned to his closed-door cultivation. As soon as he activated the Zuan Linguang, Zhao Sheng's Danshan Qi seemed to transform into an all-consuming black hole, rapidly sucking in the misty spiritual energy emanating from beneath the spiritual peach tree. An outsider observing would have seen a cloud-like tornado rapidly form above Zhao Sheng's head, its tip pointing directly toward his Danshan Qi. Suddenly, the branches and leaves of the spiritual peach tree began to move without a breeze, swaying back and forth, their tips shedding countless specks of mysterious light. Suddenly, wind and cloud surged across the slope, drawing even more water spiritual energy from the sea of mist. 2 years passed in a flash. Beneath the spiritual peach tree, Zhao Sheng sat cross-legged, eyes closed, and his spiritual consciousness penetrated his danshan. He saw a shallow puddle forming deep within his Qi. From this liquid rose wisps of vapor, carrying large clouds of misty spiritual energy. These vapors were then drawn into the vortex, transforming into drops of spiritual rain that returned to the puddle. Zhao Sheng opened his eyes with satisfaction. After 2 years of arduous practice, he had not only solidified his foundation establishment realm, but also advanced to the middle stage of the first level. In another 7 or 8 years, he might even break through to the second level. After a cultivator reaches the foundation establishment stage, advancement becomes increasingly difficult. It's not uncommon for them to not advance a level for 10 or 8 years. More often than not, after reaching a certain level, their cultivation may cease to advance. This can be caused by a variety of factors, including obsession, flawed techniques, damage to the meridians and body, indulgence in pleasure, and advanced age. Fortunately, Zhao Sheng's primary cultivation, the Zuan Linguang, is moderate and peaceful. While progress may be slow, with persistent practice, he could successfully reach the great perfection of foundation establishment. Zhao Sheng felt that with his inferior aptitude, he wouldn't even be able to reach the late stage of foundation establishment in this lifetime, let alone the golden core stage. He concluded his practice and stood up. Zhao Sheng formed a finger seal, and a miniature water dragon, as thick as an arm, with distinct scales and claws, materialized vividly from the air before him. A closer look revealed that this water dragon was remarkably identical to the cloud dragon from decades ago. Because the memory was so vivid, Zhao Sheng, after mastering the water dragon chant spell, subconsciously replicated the cloud dragon. Go! With a low shout, the water dragon flew to the foot of the spiritual peach tree. Its slender, flexible body spun at high speed around the trunk, while vast clouds of mist rapidly emerged beneath it. These clouds, rich with spiritual energy, continuously nourished the tree, making its branches and leaves even more lush and spiritual. Seeing this, Zhao Sheng nodded in satisfaction. Since establishing his foundation, he has been watering the tree 3 times a day using various water techniques. This practice was primarily to cultivate his magic, increasing its casting speed and power, and also to accelerate the tree's growth. 3 days later, Zhao Sheng was practicing beneath the tree when a sizzling sound, like something corroding, suddenly came from above. Zhao Sheng suddenly opened his eyes and looked up. In the clouds more than 5 meters high above the slope, there was an area as big as a wash basin that was dyed blood red. Chapter 83 Strange Blood. A flicker of surprise crossed Zhao Sheng's face at this sight. He knew perfectly well that the 5-meter-tall cloud was the edge of the flowing cloud formation. He wondered what strange entity had managed to slip through the flowing cloud formation silently, poised to corrode the slope. Zhao Sheng slapped the ground, his body suddenly floating out of the hollow. Effortlessly stretching out in midair, His feet landed on the slope below. With a soft snap, a bloody mess suddenly fell from the cloud, landing on the ground not far from Zhao Sheng. Zhao Sheng's pupils constricted as he saw the bloody mess undulating and twisting like a living thing, its surface occasionally surfacing with forms like centipedes, lizards, snakes, and even human heads and faces. Zhao Sheng felt sick to his stomach and couldn't help but curse, "What the hell is this?" Before he could finish his words, the bloody mess, as if sensing Zhao Sheng's human presence, suddenly stretched into a slender, snake-like creature, swooping down towards him. "Thunder!" Zhao Sheng shouted, flipping his right hand. A blazing ball of water instantly appeared in his palm, rapidly expanding to the size of his head. "Go!" With a crackling flash of lightning, the water mine flew out of his hand, soaring 2 feet before colliding head-on with a strange blood stain. Boom! A resounding thunderclap erupted, lightning flashed everywhere, and a shrill scream suddenly rang out. Soon, a foul odor, accompanied by a strong wind, continuously inundated Zhao Sheng's nose. Ugh! Zhao Sheng instinctively covered his mouth and nose, but a look of shock crossed his face. Despite the heavy impact of the water mine, the bloodstain had surprisingly survived, merely shrinking significantly. It fell to the ground, quickly shedding most of its charred body. The remaining fist-like remains transformed into a bloody centipede. With a sudden, arched body, it lifted off the ground and shot towards Zhao Sheng's head and face. "Humph!" Zhao Sheng snorted coldly, spreading the 5 fingers of his right hand and wielding them forward. In an instant, a thick curtain of water suddenly appeared, blocking him. The blood splattered into the water curtain with a thud. Zhao Sheng's mind moved, and the water curtain quickly solidified into a giant sphere half a man's height, trapping the blood splatter in its center. In the blink of an eye, the blood splatter transformed into 100 different forms, but none could break through the barrier. Watching the blood splatter constantly struggling within the water sphere, Zhao Sheng was filled with curiosity. He wondered if this blood splatter was a strange creature, or the product of some evil spirit. Zhao Sheng channeled his spiritual energy, slicing the blood splatter bit by bit. 1 into 2, 2 into 4, 4 into 8. When only the thickness of the hair remained, the remaining blood splatter suddenly lost its vitality and collapsed into tiny specks of blood. Even so, Zhao Sheng was still shocked by its extremely tenacious and strange vitality. Zhao Sheng racked his brains, but could not recall whether such a strange thing had ever existed in the world of immortal cultivation. What on earth is this? Zhao Sheng wondered. He was alone on the slope now. Zhao Caru and his son had returned to Taiwu Mountain 2 months ago, leaving him with no one to discuss matters with. Zhao Sheng scooped up the blood from the ground and placed it in a jade box, intending to descend the mountain to Dongshan City to gather information. Just because he didn't know, didn't mean others didn't know the origins of this contraption. A sizzle. Zhao Sheng looked up, his expression changing. Huh? Suddenly, 3 more blood-colored patches appeared in the mist above. The smallest was less than half a foot in diameter, the largest more than 10 feet in radius. A quarter of an hour later, Zhao Sheng, with a solemn expression, placed the small bloody mass into his magical jade bottle and sealed the bottle's mouth and body with a sealing talisman. Then, Zhao Sheng channeled his spiritual energy into his cloud-scattering robe. In an instant, a vast cloud of mist surged from the robe, quickly surrounding Zhao Sheng and eventually drowning him. The next moment, the cloud of mist drifted up into the mist above, quickly vanishing. Zhao Sheng emerged from the flowing cloud's illusion formation into a sea of fog. He pressed himself against the mountain wall, his body hidden within the mist. Zhao Sheng observed his surroundings with vigilance, his awareness expanding to its limit, constantly monitoring any movement. Yet, a quarter of an hour passed, and the thick fog that dominated most of his field of vision remained as still as before. Aside from the occasional roar and whine, Zhao Sheng heard and saw nothing unusual. Furthermore, Zhao Sheng could smell the stench of earth and bitter grass in the air, but not a trace of blood. It was as if the bloodstain that had just invaded the slope had never appeared. Confused, Zhao Sheng glanced upward, only to see the mountain wall, jagged and pitted, covered in dirt, rocks, and moss. He pondered, his mind shifting, and a divine talisman flashed between his fingers, then dissipated into ash. Zhao Sheng's aura suddenly condensed, like earth and stone. Then, the mist around him slowly rose, gliding along the mountainside toward the sea of clouds above. An hour later, above Shiansu Mountain's second layer of cloud sea, at an altitude of 23 miles, Zhao Sheng carefully hid beneath a rocky outcrop, his spiritual sense reaching upward. 60 to 70 feet above him, on the cliff, lay a corpse, its chest and abdomen largely ravaged, blood gushing forth. An ancient bronze flying sword was stuck upside down in the dirt beside the corpse. Nearby, more broken bodies lay, either hanging or sprawled among the surrounding rocks, branches, and crevices. But these bodies weren't enough to compel Zhao Sheng to be so cautious. He was acting cautiously because the foul blood flowing from the corpses seemed to be oozing out of them like a living thing, almost identical to the bloodstains Zhao Sheng had seen on the slope. The only difference was that, on the surface of these bloodstains, lay an expressionless human face. With a little discernment, the faces were identical to those of the corpses. After observing silently for a moment, Zhao Sheng was astonished to discover that the bodies were being gradually dissolved and devoured by the bloodstain. After completely devouring the bodies, the bloodstain not only grew immensely in size but also spontaneously coalesced into a single mass. As if summoned by some force, it quickly transformed into a vast blood carpet, scrambling swiftly upwards along the mountainside, instantly out of range of its spiritual sense. Seeing this, Zhao Sheng hesitated for a moment, but curiosity finally prevailed. After casting 2 invisibility talismans and a spirit-suppressing talisman on himself, Zhao Sheng raised the small Zhao Sheng talisman plate and immediately began to follow. After a while, Zhao Sheng's anxiety grew as he noticed a dead silence as he followed a path upwards, with no sign of life. This was highly unusual, as the dark side of Xianzhou Mountain was home to numerous inhabitants. This would be unacceptable unless some catastrophic event had occurred. A moment later, the figures of other bloodstains suddenly and sporadically appeared in Zhao Sheng's spiritual sense. Judging from their trajectory, the bloodstains seemed to be flowing towards the same location. As the altitude rose, the number of bloodstains within Zhao Sheng's spiritual awareness increased. By this time, Zhao Sheng had begun to harbor thoughts of retreat. Thanks to fellow book friend Yulin Zhic for the 200 coin tip. Thanks to fellow book friend Zhang Zhongwei for the 100 coin tip. Thanks to fellow book friend and Shi Zhao Shuangda for the 100 coin tip. Thanks to fellow book friend 12 Zodiac Signs Sheep for the 100 coin tip. Thanks to fellow book friend 2022013110490163 for the 100 coin tip. Thanks to fellow book friend 2021123107234755 for the 100 coin tip. Chapter 84, Giant Face and Blood Refining Talisman. When tracking reached an altitude of 30 miles, Zhao Sheng paused and abruptly stopped. His expression shifted constantly, and a foreboding premonition suddenly settled within him. No further, looking at the sea of clouds before him, which seemed like a wall of cloud covering the sky, Zhao Sheng hesitated for a moment before finally giving up on the pursuit. The vast area above the third layer of the sea of clouds on Xianzhou Mountain was the primary activity area for Foundation establishment cultivators, and even Golden Core cultivators occasionally appeared. Although Zhao Sheng had already reached the Foundation establishment stage, facing such a strange blood stain, he ultimately chose not to risk his life. It wasn't that he didn't dare, but rather that he had more important things to accomplish. Zhao Sheng turned and harnessed the clouds, rapidly descending the mountain. However, he was unaware that the moment he turned to leave, a gigantic face suddenly appeared above the sea of clouds. The face lacked a nose, ears, or eyebrows, only a pair of cold, blood-red eyes and a dark, bloody mouth that looked as if magma was surging. Covering a sea of clouds stretching for dozens of miles, it looked like a heartless deity, overlooking the sea of fog below and the tiny, dust-like figure. 2 days later, in an elegant room on the 3rd floor of Wanbao Pavilion in Dongshan City, Zhao Sheng and a middle-aged man with a genial face and dressed in a plain silk robe sat side by side. On the table before them lay a variety of 7 or 8 gleaming blades, swords, pagodas, and plaques, mid-range and high-grade magical instruments. Zhao Sheng sipped a bowl of spiritual tea while the middle-aged man carefully examined each instrument. After a moment, he placed down the last one, a purple gold plaque, and said with a smile, "I'm sorry to have kept you waiting, Senior Zhao. These instruments are in excellent condition, and the internal restrictions are intact. Wanbao Pavilion has accepted them all. I wonder how many spirit stones your pavilion can offer," Zhao Sheng asked, putting down his teacup. The middle-aged man immediately said, "How about a package deal for 8,000 spirit stones?" "Okay, that's the price," Zhao Sheng readily agreed. These magical instruments were only a small portion of his unexpected find, and selling them for so many spirit stones was already beyond his expectations. The middle-aged man was slightly surprised, expecting some bargaining, but he didn't. "Senior Zhao, please wait a moment. I'll be back soon." "Wait," Zhao Sheng stopped him. "Senior Zhao, what can I do for you?" the middle-aged man asked, turning around. Zhao Sheng said, "I need a set of second-level defensive magic arrays." "Do you have any in stock?" The middle-aged man smiled and said, "My one Bao pavilion is backed by the Balian sect, so we're not short of second-level magic arrays. Please wait a moment while I bring back a few for you to review." A moment later, the middle-aged man returned to the private room, carrying 2 storage bags. "Senior, please look. I have 3 second-tier defensive formations here. The first is the U-Wood formation. This formation can generate countless ironwoods. As long as the U-Wood key remains, it can be restored countless times, making it extremely tenacious." Zhao Sheng remained silent. Seeing this, the middle-aged man poured out dozens of golden formation bases and introduced them. "This is the Li Gold formation. It excels at using offense as defense. Once attacked, it will generate countless Li Gold arrows to counterattack the enemy." Next, this is the second-tier stone wall formation. It can generate hundreds of stone walls, harder than gold or iron. If combined with the Earth Spirit Bane, this formation's defensive strength will at least double. Zhao Sheng's eyes lit up at this, and he immediately asked, "How many spirit stones does this formation cost?" The middle-aged man smiled and said, "Not expensive at all, only 10,000 spirit stones." Zhao Sheng bargained with him and finally won for 9,400 spirit stones. After leaving the One Bao pavilion, Zhao Sheng donned a talisman robe and walked through 2 markets before arriving at the Bao Fulfang. The courtyard remained the same, but the owner had changed. The beautiful maid guarding the door saw Zhao Sheng arrive and beamed, "Senior Zhao, what a coincidence. This gathering has just begun." Zhao Sheng nodded and entered the courtyard. Dongshan City is home to countless independent cultivators, and exchanges between various circles are thriving. The Fudao Association is a gathering place for talisman masters to gather and exchange ideas. For over 20 years, Zhao Sheng had visited this place every time he visited Dongshan City. Partly to exchange talisman drawing experiences, but also to collect unique and rare talismans. After all, the art of talismans is vast and profound, and working in isolation is unacceptable. The furnishings of the gathering hall remained similar to those of decades ago, but the host had been replaced by a second-level talisman master. The previous owner, Elder Wei, had passed away 13 years earlier. In recent years, Zhao Sheng has become something of a celebrity within the Talisman Enthusiasts Club. Not only is he generous with his gifts, but he also possesses a vast array of talismans. Many cash-strapped talisman masters often reach out to him for deals. After chatting with a group of acquaintances for a while, Zhao Sheng skillfully entered the elegant room adjacent to the main hall, awaiting any talisman masters seeking to trade. Not long after, there was a knock on the door. "Come in," Zhao Sheng declared. As soon as he finished speaking, a thin, elderly man with a long face and thick brows shyly opened the door and glided in, smiling obsequiously. "Senior Zhao, I'm sorry to bother you." Zhao Sheng's brows furrowed slightly upon seeing the newcomer, but he still smiled. "Fellow Taoist Wei, please take a seat." The man's name was Wei Yaoquan, a 6th-level key refining cultivator. After Elder Wei's death, this man, claiming to be related to him, had suddenly entered the Wei family's home under the guise of offering condolences, only to seize the family's assets. Thanks to his quick thinking, he found a patron and gave away most of his family fortune, barely securing the remaining small portion. Wei Yaoquan was a cunning and unlearned man, and over the years, he had completely ruined the Wei family fortune. In recent years, Zhao Sheng had acquired numerous rare talismans from him, most often first-tier ones, with 3 or 4 second-tier ones even available. Despite being a regular customer, Zhao Sheng still treated him with disdain. Wei Yaoquan approached and swiftly sat down. Zhao Sheng asked, "Fellow Taoist Wei, do you have any new talismans to sell today? Or do you want to follow the old rules?" Wei Yaoquan nodded with a fawning smile, saying, "Just follow the old rules and exchange them for spirit stones. I can't draw talismans anyway." He then pulled a blood-red, palm-sized paper talisman from his pocket and handed it to Zhao Sheng. He also handed him a piece of paper covered in handwriting. Zhao Sheng sniffed the talisman's strong scent of blood, his gaze fixed on it. He didn't take it, but instead asked solemnly, "What kind of talisman is this?" Is it from the devil or the evil path? Wei Yaoquan was stunned, then quickly replied, Senior Zhao, don't misunderstand. This talisman is called the blood refining talisman, and it refines blood in essence. It's not some evil demonic talisman that could cause endless harm. You'll know at a glance. He then passed the sheet of paper with the refining instructions forward. Zhao Sheng pondered, took it, and carefully read it. Only half of the instructions were written, but they weren't strange at all. Instead, they were well written, with a distinctly Taoist style, not at all like those of the evil path. Thanks to fellow reader Qi Mai Oxen for the 100 coin tip. Thanks to fellow reader Siju Zaya Ajenbin for the 100 coin tip. Thanks to fellow reader Jing Zhengwei's fanboy for the 100 coin tip. Thanks to fellow reader Wu Gao for the 100 coin tip. Beimei, thank you. Chapter 85, Guillen's Henren and the Blood Refining and Body Tempering Technique. Zhao Sheng felt relieved and said with a hint of apology, it turns out that Zhao has misunderstood fellow Taoist Wei. Well, I accept this talisman. How many spirit stones do you want? In fact, the first level talisman itself is not expensive, but the refining method is expensive. Fellow Taoist Wei rubbed his hands joyfully and asked tentatively, how about 1,000 spirit stones? Zhao Sheng said bluntly, that's a bit expensive. Wei Yaoquan's face froze, and he said exaggeratedly, not at all. This blood refining talisman is not comparable to those ordinary first-level talismans. It can condense blood essence. For us cultivators, blood essence is precious, every drop counts. Let alone those who follow the path of body refinement. Think about offering blood refining instruments, amplifying the power of talismans, and feeding spirit insects. Which of these things can't be done without blood essence? His exaggeration was not to be taken by Zhao Sheng. He immediately retorted, first of all, I'm not following the path of body refinement, so the blood refining talisman is of little use to me. Besides, there are gains and losses. Although this talisman can condense blood essence, it will inevitably deplete vital energy. Otherwise, its grade would not be only first level. Seeing that he couldn't deceive the other party, Wei Yaoquan couldn't help but smile sheepishly and asked tentatively, then how much can Senior Zhao offer? 300 at most. No, at least 800, Wei Yaoquan shouted, his face flushing. 500, no more, 700 spirit stones. Otherwise, I won't sell it. With that, Wei Yaoquan grabbed the talisman and the paper, stood up, and pretended to leave. Zhao Sheng didn't try to stop him, but simply watched with a smile. Seeing this, Wei Yaoquan rolled his eyes and sat back down. Senior Zhao, please tell me straight up. How many spirit stones can you offer? He asked with a gloomy look on his face. Zhao Sheng felt the time was right, so he said, 700 spirit stones is not impossible. Wei Yaoquan's face lit up at this. However, Zhao Sheng suddenly changed the subject, asking, but you must tell me the truth. Where did you get this blood refining talisman? Wei Yaoquan grinned, as long as Senior Zhao pays the spirit stones, I will tell you the whole story of this talisman. Zhao Sheng counted out 700 low-grade spirit stones and pushed them in front of him. Wei Yaoquan deftly put the spirit stone away and retrieved the paper containing the second half of the refining method, handing it to Zhao Sheng along with the first half. He then quickly recounted the origins of the blood refining talisman. He had obtained the blood refining talisman from a third-generation disciple of Guillen's Henren. Along with the talisman was a bodybuilding technique called blood refining and body tempering technique. Guillen's Henren was one of the 4 great masters of the Golden Core Great Perfection in Dongshan City. In the past 2 years, rumors have circulated in Dongshan City that Guillen's Henren had secretly ascended to the nascent soul stage and was about to leave Dongshan City to establish his own sect. While these rumors have not been confirmed, despite Guillen's Henren's 20 years of seclusion, it is clear that his disciples have begun to secretly recruit disciples and expand their influence. Zhao Sheng had heard of this, but he hadn't expected the blood refining talisman to come from Guillen's Henren's disciples. So you've chosen to join Guillen's Henren's side? Zhao Sheng asked. Not really. It's just that if you can get something for nothing, you'd be a jerk not to take it. Now that something's being offered to me, I'd be a fool not to take it. Wei Yaoquan grinned, spreading his hands in a dignified manner. Oh? Could it be that you didn't ask for it, but someone else approached you? Zhao Sheng's eyes flickered, and he asked curiously. If not, who would be interested in an old man like me? Wei Yaoquan said this, showing remarkable self-awareness. Zhao Sheng leaned back in his chair and tentatively asked, can I have a look at that blood refining and body tempering art? Wei Yaoquan rolled his eyes and extended his hand, saying, "No need to look. I'll sell it to you. It's not expensive, just 500 spirit stones." So cheap. The first thought that crossed Zhao Sheng's mind was immediately skeptical. Cultivation techniques are much more expensive than talismans. That blood refining talisman cost 700 spirit stones. It doesn't make sense that a more valuable technique would only cost this much. There must be something fishy going on. Before Zhao Sheng could inquire further, Wei Yaoquan explained, "Senior Zhao, don't doubt it. This technique is only a fragment, containing only the key refining section. And the person who taught me the technique also said that they very much welcome more fellow practitioners to practice it." At this, he chuckled, gave a thumbs up, and praised, "Master Guian, worthy of his background as a casual cultivator, even at the nascent soul stage, still thinks of us casual cultivators. He has the generosity of a great master who teaches without discrimination." After a while, Wei Yaoquan bowed, thanked him profusely, and left the elegant room, contentedly heading to Pyongyang Tower. Inside the elegant room, Zhao Sheng flipped through the booklet, his expression grave. But after reading it 3 times, Zhao Sheng put it down, bewildered. This blood refining and body tempering secret was steeped in Taoist style, its cultivation methods primarily focusing on food, medicine, and refining. There was nothing strange or bizarre about it. It seemed perfectly normal. But Zhao Sheng couldn't help but feel something was amiss. He began to suspect that with his own knowledge and experience, he might not be able to uncover the mystery. Just as he was wondering, there was another knock on the door of the elegant chamber. "Come in," a new guest arrived, interrupting Zhao Sheng's thoughts. Seeing someone enter, he had to put aside his thoughts and begin to greet them. An hour later, Zhao Sheng had seen off 3 waves of fellow travelers seeking to trade. Seeing his time was almost up, Zhao Sheng stood up, packed up, said goodbye to his host, and left. A moment later, Zhao Sheng passed through the city gate, released his wooden kite, and was about to depart. After establishing their foundation, cultivators can fly with flying instruments, but Zhao Sheng, not wanting to show off, opted to continue his journey on the wooden kite. Suddenly, his gaze caught his eye, and he turned to look at the city gate. He saw 2 gatekeepers in bright red robes flanking the gate. Their faces were rosy, and they exuded a fierce, masculine energy, their blood surging to the point of overflowing. His eyes flickered. And without further question, he leaped onto the wooden kite and soared into the air, soaring towards the summit of Xiansu Mountain. Time flew by, and half a year passed in a flash. In the Zhao family's secret residence, beneath the spiritual peach tree, a thick aura of spiritual energy permeated the air. Zhao Sheng sat beneath the tree, eyes closed, cultivating. A vortex of spiritual energy swirled within his danshan, drawing in the surrounding spiritual energy. This energy, in turn, stirred a cloud of mist, which enveloped his body for a long time. An incense stick of time passed before a 3-foot-long column of air suddenly emanated from Zhao Sheng's mouth. He slowly opened his eyes, a hint of joy in his eyes. After 6 months of arduous practice, his cultivation had advanced considerably, and his spiritual awareness had expanded by about 10 feet, now reaching 15 feet. After today's training, Zhao Sheng hopped down from above and descended into the medicinal herb field. He began to loosen the soil for the medicinal herbs and cast the spring breeze rain talisman, which conjured a spiritual rain to water the herbs. After being busy for half an hour, he quickly finished the work. Zhao Sheng stood up, condensed a bowl of clear water to wash his hands, and suddenly felt lonely. Ever since the strange bloody incident, Xiansu Mountain has been calm for the past 6 months, and no strange things have happened. Zhao Sheng's originally hanging heart gradually let go, and his mind quickly shifted to another thing. It has been almost a year, and Zhao Keru and Zhao Zuanjing have not returned yet. This is the first time in these years. This made Zhao Sheng feel very strange, and he couldn't help but wonder if something happened in Taiwu Mountain that delayed their return. Thanks to the bug friend Gray-Clothed Sunshine Boy for the 100 coin reward. Baimayi thanks you. Chapter 86 The Coming War of Expansion. A month later, a cold wave was about to arrive. Zhao Sheng was in a state of extreme irritability, and just as he could no longer bear it, he was about to set off to return to Taiwu Mountain. Zhao Keru unexpectedly returned to the secret residence alone. Zhao Sheng floated from under the spiritual peach tree and flew in front of him. Seeing this, he asked curiously, "Why hasn't Ginger come back?" Zhao Keru wiped the cold sweat from his forehead and replied, "Chong, Not only will Xuanjing not come back this time, you must also return to Taiwu Mountain with me immediately." Zhao Sheng's heart suddenly trembled, and he immediately asked, "Uncle Ru, has something happened at home?" Zhao Keru was stunned when he heard this, and hurriedly said, "Don't worry, everything is fine at home. It's just that there is an important matter waiting for you to go back and discuss it." Hearing that nothing had happened at home, Zhao Sheng felt relieved and smiled. "What is going on at home that requires me to go back and decide? Is Ginger getting married? Don't be ridiculous. If that stupid Xuanjing had half the intelligence of Xuanan, I wouldn't have to worry about his marriage." Zhao Keru waved his hands repeatedly. When Zhao Keru mentioned his son, his expression was filled with resignation. After some casual chatter, his expression suddenly grew serious, and he said in a deep voice, "This matter I'm talking about has nothing to do with Xuanjing, but it concerns the family's fortune for the next few hundred years, centuries of fortune again." Zhao Sheng was stunned by this, and a strange thought subconsciously crossed his mind. Isn't the word luck being overused? Putting aside this nonsensical thought, Zhao Sheng's expression suddenly grew serious. Without needing further questioning, Zhao Keru replied, "You're here in Xiansu Mountain, and you didn't know that a Giant's Henren from the Danding sect had successfully ascended to the nascent soul stage after achieving perfect cultivation." Zhao Sheng was startled, then delighted. The fact that Zhao Keru was even willing to keep the matter a secret suggested this was more of a blessing than a curse for the Zhao family. He wondered what the family's connection was to this newly ascended nascent soul ancestor. Could it be that someone from the Jie family had finally made it this far? The thought of a giant in grand perfection within the Jie family brought a secret of joy to Zhao Sheng. "Uncle Ru, was it the Jie family member who advanced?" "No." Zhao Sheng's heart sank upon hearing this. Then, Zhao Keru said proudly, "But it's almost the same. The one who advanced to the nascent soul stage was the Taoist partner of Ji's Jinxi's Henren." Zhao Sheng instinctively thought, "Yui's Henren. Yes, that's exactly her." Zhao Keru nodded and smiled. Zhao Sheng was delighted. You know, the giant and Taoist couple, Jinxi and Yui, were renowned not only within the Danding sect but also throughout the Xiansu realm. Back then, Zhenren Yui was a casual cultivator, while Zhenren Jinxi was the eldest daughter of the Jie family. Despite their vastly different statuses, Zhenren Jinxi had a keen eye and took a liking to the yet-to-be-revealed Yui's Henren. For the Jie family, their eldest daughter's choice of a down-and-out casual cultivator was a profound humiliation. Back then, the Jie family had repeatedly oppressed and harassed Zhenren Yui, repeatedly attempting to break the couple up. However, fate is unpredictable. The more the Jie family tried to separate the two, the more steadfast their bond remained. Furthermore, rather than decline under the Jie family's oppression, Jade Leaf Immortal's cultivation soared, encountering countless extraordinary experiences, and at the young age of 130, he successfully ascended to the Golden Core stage. At this point, the Jie family was forced to bow their heads and acknowledge Jade Leaf Immortal as their son-in-law. From then on, the reputation of the two immortals' unwavering bond spread throughout southern Xinjiang. For nearly 100 years, with both Jinxi and Yui immortals advancing to the late Golden Core stage, their story has become a beloved anecdote in the world of immortal cultivation. Upon confirming the news, Zhao Sheng couldn't help but sigh. Jade Leaf Immortal is truly a role model for our generation. His courage and dedication are truly remarkable among casual cultivators. Zhao Keru, standing beside him, nodded in understanding. After sighing, Zhao Sheng calmly restrained his expression and asked, "What does Yui's Henren's advancement to the nascent soul stage have to do with family affairs?" "It's very relevant. The family has moved to southern Xinjiang for so many years. Don't tell me you haven't heard of the Pioneering War." Pioneering War. Hearing this word, Zhao Sheng was shocked, but then he suddenly realized it. "Uncle Ru, does Yui really? No. Does Patriarch Yui truly have such lofty ambitions to expand his territory in the southern border wilderness? Will he choose the 100,000 mountains or the endless wild forest?" Zhao Keru said. "Which territory Patriarch Yui will choose is still unknown, but it's likely the 100,000 mountains. After all, the endless wild forest is the territory of the beast-taming sect." Although Zhao Sheng had countless questions in his mind, he didn't ask any more questions. Instead, he said with a serious expression, "There's no time to lose. Let's go back immediately." "Wait a moment, I have things to do," Zhao Keru hurriedly asked. "What are they?" "Two things. One is that I need to gather some spiritual herbs this time. The other is that I need to bring Xiaojin back to Taiwu Mountain." Zhao Sheng frowned after hearing this. Gathering spiritual herbs was understandable. The Zhao family's participation in the War of Pioneering would surely be costly. Exchanging spiritual herbs for spiritual stones, elixirs, and other resources was understandable. But Zhao Jin posed a huge threat. What if he was accidentally exposed after returning to Taiwu Mountain? This was a disaster for the Zhao family. In the past, he had only dared to sneakily take some spiritual soil back, not even a single golden-ringed spiritual earthworm. He feared accidentally revealing his identity and allowing someone with ulterior motives to discover the flaw. Uncle Ru, was it Xuanjing who asked you to take Zhao Jin back? Doesn't he know how dangerous it is? Zhao Sheng questioned. Zhao Keru scratched his hand and said honestly, I tried to persuade Ginger, but he insisted, saying that Zhao Jin would be of great use in this pioneering war. Zhao Sheng pondered for a moment, then nodded decisively. In that case, let's do as Xuanjing wishes. Zhao Sheng had watched Zhao Xuanjing grow up and knew his character well. If he insisted, he must have a reason. After all, Xuanjing wasn't the type to lie or deceive the world with empty promises. 2 hours later, the two men packed up and immediately set off on their journey home. To cut a long story short, let's just say it. 7 days later, two streaks of light streaked from the horizon. As they soared over Taiwu Mountain, they plummeted like meteors, landing in a bluestone courtyard atop the mountaintop in an instant. Half a month later, in a small mountainside cottage, Zhao Sheng stood calmly before a wall, his gaze fixed on the surface. The wall was now densely covered with slips of paper, recording the intelligence the Zhao family had recently gathered. They covered everything from minor details like price fluctuations for talismans, elixirs, and other ingredients to major details like internal transfers within the Danding sect. Despite the Zhao family's limited power, the intelligence they gathered was mostly insignificant, with only a few crucial pieces of information available. After compiling all this information, Zhao Sheng suddenly realized that the peaceful southern border was about to be turbulent due to the territorial expansion war. Thank you to my fellow book friend, the Bookworm Clan, for the 2000 coin tip. Thank you to my fellow book friend, Dao Kun, for the 100 coin tip. Advancement will be determined on Monday and Tuesday, so I hope everyone will catch up tomorrow and the day after. Baimuyi thanked him. Chapter 87 Preparations before the War of Expansion. Since ancient times, wars have always been fought before troops set out. Even before news of the territorial expansion war spread, prices for elixirs, talismans, magical instruments, and arrays had already risen to varying degrees in the major markets of southern Xinjiang. Thanks to their ties to the Jie family, the Zhao family became the second family to learn of the situation. Zhao Sheng knew the news wouldn't remain hidden for long. It would take at most a month, at most 7 or 8 days. Word of the Jade Leaf Patriarch's intention to launch a territorial expansion war would surely spread throughout southern Xinjiang. Southern Xinjiang hadn't launched a territorial expansion war in nearly 500 years. Zhao Sheng could imagine that a juicy cake suddenly presented to the countless cultivators of southern Xinjiang would surely attract countless participants eager to reap the benefits of war. It would be a feast for all, for sects, families, and individual cultivators alike. Many families would undoubtedly rise to prominence, while others would suffer heavy casualties, never to recover, or even perish. War is always brutal, especially within the realm of cultivation. Monster beasts possess a strong sense of territory. Cultivators seeking to carve out a new, fertile, and humane land in southern Xinjiang inevitably face a protracted, life-and-death struggle against countless monsters. For the Zhao family, this land reclamation war presents a golden opportunity. This war has a well-established tradition: whoever conquers, occupies. Whoever develops, owns. Simply put, if you can occupy a sacred land and successfully develop it, it becomes yours. This tradition stems from the saying, a single tree cannot make a forest. Developing a region is never something that can be easily accomplished by one or two individuals, or even just one or two factions. Even if the Danding sect is powerful enough to do so, choosing to monopolize it would incur the wrath of the public. After carving out the largest slice of the pie, the Jade Leaf Patriarch often leaves the remaining scraps for other factions to scramble for. However, with the countless families and sects of cultivators in southern Xinjiang, the decision on which factions to participate depends on the Jade Leaf Patriarch's personal opinion. And this is where the Zhao family's opportunity lies. Long before his return, Zhao Zuanan and his wife, Jie Finger, had returned to the Jie family for a visit. Ostensibly a visit, They were actually gathering information. Any useful intelligence they obtained would be immediately relayed back to Taiwu Mountain. The Zhao family had 3 foundation establishment cultivators. Zhao Sheng, stationed at Taiwu Mountain, was responsible for compiling and analyzing intelligence, mobilizing and issuing instructions to the clan members at all times. Zhao Jinjian, already at the 3rd foundation establishment stage and the strongest, was currently in the Jiating market, purchasing elixirs and other supplies for the family while also protecting them and their supplies. To secretly gather supplies, most of the Zhao family's 30-plus immortal cultivators had dispersed to the Jiating market. Zhao Keru, meanwhile, plunged into the alchemy room, toiling day and night to refine various elixirs, such as the miasma-breaking pill and the rejuvenating pill. The southern border wilderness was rife with deep mountains and ancient forests. Rife with miasma and poisonous insects, making the miasma-breaking pill an essential elixir. The rejuvenating pill, needless to say, was a healing elixir. To secure ownership of a sacred land, the Zhao family had mobilized its entire power and resources. As time passed, countless pieces of outdated intelligence were mercilessly torn off the wall before Zhao Sheng, only to be replaced by more. When the news of the land expansion war spread throughout southern Xinjiang, the Zhao family had barely completed its stockpiling of supplies. Zhao Sheng was deeply concerned, not because of a shortage of supplies, but because he had discovered a vulnerable weakness in his family that was difficult to overcome. More importantly, this weakness could determine the family's ultimate success or failure. The next morning, smoke curled from cooking fires throughout Zheoan City, a peaceful and tranquil scene. But in the city lord's mansion, nestled in the heart of the inner city, the atmosphere grew increasingly tense, and the servants and maids dared not even breathe. Zhao Sheng sat at the head of the hall, silently observing the 7 Zhao clan members below. Nearly 30 years had passed since Zheoan City was built, and the Zhao clan had grown from over 3,000 to nearly 10,000. Yet, among these nearly 10,000, only 7 innate warriors emerged. For a family founded on martial arts, this number was relatively small. The Zhao family bestows numerous essence pills annually, and coupled with the numerous notes of experience left behind by generations of Xiantian warriors, the Zhao family should possess far more than just 7 Xiantian masters. Zhao Sheng believes there should be at least a dozen. As the saying goes, born in adversity, die in comfort. Alice, it seems the Zhao family has become slack again these days. Zhao Sheng sighed inwardly, his expression turning unusually cold. He turned to the anxiously guarded current patriarch of the Zhao family, and issued a cold command: I don't care what method you use. Within this year, you must gather 20 Xiantian masters. One less, and you will give up your position as patriarch to someone else. Upon hearing this demanding requirement, the renowned Zhao patriarch, renowned for his shrewdness and strength, nearly burst into tears. Xiantian masters aren't cabbages, they can't just grow up. He was about to plead for mercy, but seeing Zhao Sheng's stern expression, he swallowed the words that were on his lips and nodded silently. The Zhao family now has a very thorny weakness. In a typical immortal cultivation family, the strength of its members typically follows a pyramidal pattern from top to bottom. However, the Zhao family, is shaped like a dumbbell, with high sides and a low center. Core members in the middle and late stages of key refining are severely scarce. With the passing of older generations like Zhao Jinding, the Zhao family's K and Chong generations total only 12 members, with only 2 in the late stage of key refining, 6 in the middle stage, and the remaining 4 in the early stage, who are of little use. By the time of the Zhuan generation, there are nearly 30 members, but the highest-ranking cultivator, Zhao Zunjing, is only at the 8th level of key refining, followed by Zhao Zuanan at the 6th level, with a majority at the 1st or 2nd level. Zhao Sheng had secretly estimated that the strongest of the family's 3 foundation establishment cultivators was only at the 3rd level, and Zhao Keru was not particularly adept at fighting. With the strength of these 3, conquering a spiritual land would not be impossible, but it would be difficult. That was not the only challenge. The greater challenge was protecting the spiritual land from outsiders and demonic beasts. However, the Zhao family's most pressing issue was a severe shortage of available manpower. You must know that ordinary people are completely useless in developing new spiritual lands in the southern border wasteland. At the very least, they must be innate warriors. Ordinary people simply cannot adapt to the extremely harsh environment of the wasteland. Sometimes, even a single miasma can kill a person, not to mention the ferocious monsters and poisonous insects. Unfortunately, the Zhao family's financial resources are too meager, far less than the wealth of other established foundation-building families, and they can't afford to hire independent cultivators for assistance. Joining forces with other families? Zhao Sheng wouldn't do so unless absolutely necessary. Trust is a major issue. Never underestimate a cultivator family's desire for their own spiritual land. Similarly, you can't trust any family's promises, even if they've signed a blood pact. In the rigidly hierarchical world of Central Continent, a cultivator family without their own spiritual land will always be at the bottom of the world. Thank you to my book friend Wulong Lemon Tea for the 1,500 coin tip. Thank you to my book friend Demon World Dashi for the 100 coin tip. Thank you to my book friend 8709 for the 100 coin tip. Baimut thanks you. Chapter 88, Wilderness Topographic Map. Early in the morning, just as the sky was breaking into pale dawn, a scaly green dragon horse, nearly a foot tall, stood at the gate of a large mansion in the eastern part of Xiaoan City. Despite the groom's efforts to soothe it, it kept raising its head and wagging its tail, its 4 iron hooves, as big as bulls, kicking the ground impatiently. A moment later, with a creaking sound, the gate slowly opened, and a tall, broad-eared middle-aged man emerged, surrounded by a large group of people. "Madam, you can go back," Zhao Shuo said, pulling the reins and turning to his wife. "Master, can you not go? Otherwise, let anger go and beg the grandfather. He is an immortal cultivator and will definitely exempt you from this mission." Seeing his wife crying, Zhao Shuo frowned and said in a solemn voice, "Madam, please agree. It is precisely because anger is an immortal cultivator that I, as a father, have to go. Moreover, for the 1,000-year foundation of the Zhao family, I, Zhao Shuo, as the innate of the Zhao family, have an obligation to do so." "But, what if?" Zhao Shuo waved his hand, interrupted his wife's words, and said firmly, "There is no what if. Even if I die in the wilderness of southern border this time, I die for the family cause, and it is a worthy death." After finishing speaking, Zhao Shuo suddenly jumped on the horse, pulled the reins, turned the horse's head, looked back at his wife, and finally said, "Madam, take care." After speaking, Zhao Shuo squeezed the horse's belly. The King Jiao horse, in pain, suddenly raised its front hooves high, and then rushed out. "Master, Wu." Watching her husband's retreating back, the pampered mistress of the Zhao family suddenly burst into tears. A moment later, Zhao Shuo, riding his dragon horse, quickly approached the city's east gate. At that moment, he spotted from afar 12 figures on dragon horses waiting silently by the gate. Most of them were white-haired elders, and only one, like him, was in the prime of his life. Arriving at the gate, Zhao Shuo grabbed his horse's head, reined in his green dragon horse, and silently joined the group. A moment later, 8 more Zhao clan innate warriors arrived from various parts of Xiaoan City. Seeing everyone gathered, Zhao Wangxi, the oldest among them, suddenly spoke in a deep voice, "Everyone, this time, our Zhao clan is going all out. Therefore, on this trip to southern Xinjiang, we must succeed, not fail. Also, let me remind you one more thing, even if we have to die, we old bones must die before the immortal cultivators of our family. Do you understand, third master?" "Don't worry, of course, haha, third brother, we still know what's important and what's not," the Zhao Xianchen responded with expressions ranging from solemn to carefree. Zhao Wangxi nodded with a smile, then tightened the reins and shouted, "Let's go." As soon as he finished speaking, his Qing Jiao horse rushed out first. Seeing this, the other Zhao Xianchen whipped their whips and squeezed their stomachs. 21 Jiao horses took off one after another, galloping towards Taiwu Mountain. 3 days later, beside a secluded pond on the mountainside, Zhao Sheng watched the 2 horse teams gradually recede below the mountain. His face was calm, and he remained silent for a long time. Seeing this, Zhao Zuanan, standing beside him, couldn't help but ask, "Seventh uncle, isn't this a bit too hasty?" Zhao Sheng turned to look at the current head of the Zhao family and said calmly, "This is a test, and also a period of adjustment. If they can't even adapt to the nearby Ghost Mist Ridge, they'll be of no use in the southern border wilderness." Zhao Zuanan listened, though he didn't agree with his 7th uncle's approach, but he didn't question it further. For the past 2 years, he had been staying at the Jie family to gather information. As he learned more about the two-to war, Zhao Zuanan became more and more aware of its cruelty. While his 7th uncle's decision was somewhat cruel and inhumane, it was the best choice for the family. Zuanan, you and Fenger shouldn't go on this trip to southern Xinjiang. Instead, you should stay in charge of Taiwu Mountain." Hearing this, Zhao Zuanan said anxiously, "How can I do that? The family is short-handed right now, and Fenger and I are both at the 6th level of key refining. How can we just stand by and watch?" Zhao Sheng waved his hand, saying, "Everyone in the family, including me, can die, but neither you nor your wife can. Do you understand?" Zhao Zuanan remained silent, understanding the unspoken meaning of his seventh uncle's words. "Besides, your presence at Taiwu Mountain is crucial to the family. You need to cut off any malicious eyes, while also keeping an eye on the Zhuan generation, those key refining level 1 and 2 brats. Most importantly, the logistical responsibility of the family falls on you. Compared to having 2 more key refining level 6 fighters, these things are far more important, aren't they?" Zhao Zuanan nodded sincerely, his heart not instantly loosened. "By the way, how many days until Fenger returns?" Zhao Sheng suddenly asked. Zhao Zuanan thought for a moment and said, "Considering the distance, they should be back soon, 1 or 2 days at most." Zhao Sheng nodded thoughtfully. 2 days later, in the bluestone courtyard on the top of Taiwu Mountain, Zhao Jinjian, Zhao Keru, Zhao Sheng, Zhao Zuanan and other key members of the Zhao family appeared here without exception. The reason for such a large group of people was that Jeff Fenger brought back a piece of crucial information. Jeff Fenger was not tall, with a delicate and pretty appearance, but her personality was cheerful and generous. She stood beside her husband, smiling at the uncles and elders of the Zhao family, and her aura was actually slightly overshadowing Zhao Zuanan. "Fenger, quickly take out the things," Zhao Zuanan urged at this time. Jeff Fenger glanced at her husband with her almond-shaped eyes. She pulled a crystal ball the size of a human head from her storage bag and said with a smile, "My dear uncles and elders, Fenger has fulfilled your mission. I've brought back the true shadow ball, which records a portion of the terrain of the wasteland." She then pulled out a map and handed it to her husband, adding, "This is a rough map I copied from my family. It roughly covers the scope of this land expansion war." Zhao Jinjian couldn't hide his joy at this. He immediately stepped forward to take the true shadow ball, praising him profusely. "Fenger, you're so thoughtful. You've truly made a great contribution to our Zhao family. If this success is achieved, you should be the first to receive the credit." "Fenger, I dare not take credit for it. Now that I've married into the Zhao family, I should prioritize the family," Jeff Fenger said modestly. "That's well said. Aner is truly blessed to have you as his wife." Zhao Sheng also praised him. "Uncle 7, you're too kind. Who made me fall for this playboy back then?" Jeff Fenger rolled her eyes at her husband. Zhao Zuanan smiled awkwardly, a hint of bitterness on his face. In just a few words, Zhao Jinjian successfully activated the magic weapon, the true shadow ball. At this moment, a layer of light suddenly appeared on the surface of the true shadow ball, and then a vivid three-dimensional image was projected from the inside of the sphere into the air. The image perspective is high in the sky, as if a person is flying forward at high speed with the instrument, looking down, taking in all the scenery and terrain along the way. Looking around, the earth is full of rolling hills, valleys, lakes and swamps. Thanks to book friend Chanshan Yiman for the 500 coin reward. Thanks to book friend Stavifa for the 500 coin reward. Thanks to Yi Yazidong for the 100 coin reward. Baimut thanks you. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 89 Waiting for Autumn to Come on September 8th. A fleeting glimpse revealed towering ancient trees dotting the hills and mountains, vines entwining and spreading through the trees. A multicolored miasma permeated the forests and formed clouds of deadly poison in the sky. Ferocious beasts and birds were often seen roaming the hills, forests, and grasses. Strange and bizarre poisonous insects gathered and dispersed, forming clouds that wreaked havoc in the forests and swamps. Zhao Sheng couldn't help but smile as he watched the rapidly shifting images before him. He knew these were the true terrain of the desolate land. These images were truly precious, for they were the authentic memories of a nascent soul stage ancestor. This was the Ui Patriarch, who had personally explored the desolate land and, with his powerful divine consciousness, had imprinted everything he had seen and heard along the way onto True Shadow Ball. While the True Shadow Ball contained only a copy of one of these images, It was a treasure rarely found by ordinary immortal cultivators. After merely examining them for a moment, Zhao Sheng immediately instructed Zhao Zuanan to open the map. Zhao Zuanan nodded and tossed the map forward. A map slowly unfolded, and in an instant, a massive map, nearly 3 square meters in size, hung before everyone. The Zhao family members approached and peered down. The map showed mountains, rivers, forests, and swamps, all labeled with various names. However, a small portion of the terrain was covered in various colors, including black, gray, red, yellow, and green. The center of the map was stained gray-black, revealing a sizable mountain range, marked with the word Zhuang Ridge. Jeff Enger stepped forward, pointed at the map, and explained, "Uncles, please look. This map covers an area of nearly 7,000 square kilometers. The degree of danger is indicated by color. Black represents a deadly zone, the most dangerous level. Even a nascent soul cultivator would be in danger of death. Gray areas indicate the presence of transformed, powerful demons. Red corresponds to giant and demon beasts, and yellow to Foundation Establishment demon beasts. The remaining green areas don't represent absolute safety, but rather indicate unknown areas. It's just that no demon beasts above Foundation Establishment have been detected yet." Zhao Sheng carefully examined the map and noticed that the closer he got to Pig Emperor Ridge, the more red and yellow areas appeared. Conversely, the edges of the map were mostly covered in unknown green. Without Jeff Enger's explanation, the Zhao family quickly understood that the areas where demon beasts were lurking were likely the locations of spiritual veins. Color represents the degree of danger and often indicates the level of the spiritual vein. The gray area of Pig Emperor Ridge is very likely to contain a third-tier spiritual vein, while the yellow area is most likely a first-tier spiritual vein, or at the very least, a place of mixed spirits. The areas above red were off-limits to the Zhao family. Zhao Sheng passed them directly, his gaze shifting to the yellow areas. After carefully observing them for a moment, Zhao Sheng mentally selected several locations. He raised his head and asked, "Have you reviewed the map? Have you chosen any locations for your attack? I think Yellow Maple Valley is a good choice. The terrain is open and suitable for farming. Otherwise, I think 5 Dragon River is even better. 5 rivers converge here, forming a natural dragon's lair, sure to yield treasures. Safety is paramount. Kingsong Mountain is surrounded by greenery, so it's not very dangerous and suitable for a family attack." After everyone mentioned 7 or 8 locations, Zhao Sheng turned to Zhao Jinjian and said, "Fourth Master, True Shadow Ball." "Yes." Zhao Jinjian nodded, waved his hand, and activated the True Shadow Ball. With a rapid shift of light and shadow, the image quickly settled on a flat valley dotted with red and yellow maple trees. "Yes, Yellow Maple Valley," Zhao Jinjian said calmly. The True Shadow Ball was created by a nascent soul patriarch, and the image was transformed from the image in his spiritual consciousness. Although the Yellow Maple Valley was only a fleeting glimpse through his spiritual consciousness, the resolution was still extremely high, allowing the forest and terrain to be clearly seen. Meanwhile, Jeff Enger duly pulled out a book and flipped through dozens of pages, quickly stopping on one. She read, "Yellow Maple Valley, covered in sacred maple trees. In the forest, packs of red-tailed flying squirrels roam. Currently, there's a single level 2 red-tailed flying squirrel." Seeing she stopped reading, Zhao Sheng asked in surprise, "That's all, that's all? Ancestor I merely dictated these few words." I guess in his eyes, monsters below level 2 aren't worth mentioning at all. Zhao Sheng felt deeply regretful and could only helplessly say, "What do you all think of the Yellow Maple Valley? For the sake of the family cause, please speak freely, I think." 2 hours later, as the sky gradually darkened, within the bluestone courtyard of Taiwu Mountain, the Zhao family members engaged in a heated discussion, occasionally arguing fiercely over a particular sacred site. By this time, 3 or 4 yellow areas on the map had been crossed out. Areas like Huangfang Valley and Wulong River had been abandoned by the Zhao family due to various flaws. Zhao Sheng looked up at the sky outside, then at the crowd, and suddenly said, "Let me suggest a place. Rotten Peach Mountain, what do you think?" With this, everyone fell silent. Jeff Enger quickly searched for a booklet and read, "Rotten Peach Mountain, home to countless rotten peaches and a pervasive peach miasma. There are colonies of long-armed white apes, including 2 male and female second-level white apes, ferocious and aggressive by nature." Zhao Jinjian brought up the image of Rotten Peach Mountain and watched as a large pink miasma cloud drifted over the forest. He couldn't help but frown. The peach blossom miasma is known for its mind-bending toxicity. Ordinary barrier avoidance pills probably won't work. Plus, there are 2 second-tier demon apes and an unknown number of white apes. It's hard for our family to survive in such a dangerous place. Zhao Zuanan, Zhao Keru, and the others nodded in agreement, then turned to Zhao Sheng. Zhao Sheng glanced at the group and smiled. I chose this place for many reasons, but 3 are the main ones. First, within a 600-li radius of Rotten Peach Mountain are numerous first and second-tier spiritual sites, indicating a high concentration of spiritual energy. Once developed, the surrounding area will surely become a prosperous area for cultivating immortals. Second, Rotten Peach Mountain has countless peach trees, and spiritual peaches are likely to be quite common. This is very similar to Tewu Mountain, making it very convenient for relocating, exchanging, or transplanting spiritual peaches. Third, I've chosen. After Zhao Sheng finished explaining his 3 reasons, Zhao Jinjian and the others briefly discussed the matter and decided to temporarily select Rotten Peach Mountain as a backup location, while further discussions continued for a more suitable location. Zhao Sheng had no complaints about this. Because the matter was of such importance, everyone naturally considered every detail. If a location was easily chosen in a few words, Zhao Sheng would have been disappointed. The Zhao family debated for 3 days, exhausting nearly every yellow zone before finally selecting 2 or 3 suitable locations, including Rotten Peach Mountain. The Zhao family then bustled about preparing for the wilderness expansion. Facing a war between humans and demons, Zhao Sheng took no chances. He assembled the Zhao family's 23 cultivators above the 3rd level of key refining and 21 innate warriors into 3 teams and subjected them to rigorous training using secular military methods. A month later, just as the Zhao family was enjoying the ecstasy of Zhao Sheng's training, news suddenly arrived from the Jie family at Tewu Mountain. Zhao Sheng looked at Jie Finger, who had come to him, and asked, "Has the date for the land reclamation war been set?" Jie Finger nodded. "When? 19th day of the 8th month in autumn. Thanks to fellow reader Wanagato Heavens clone for the 5463 coin tip. Thanks to fellow reader Yanzhao 1 for the 100 coin tip. Thanks to fellow reader Kong Zindan Wang for the 100 coin tip. Baima Yi thanks you." Chapter 90, Phantom Girl Wants to Induce a Disaster. On the 8th day of the 9th lunar month, golden chrysanthemums were already in full bloom in the north, and frost had killed all the grass. In southern Xinjiang, the temperature had only dropped slightly, but it was still extremely hot and humid. Early that morning, the streets of Jiling Market were completely sealed off, and no one was allowed to leave. High above the market, a vast and magnificent 3-story palace hovered. This palace was of ancient and majestic style, with a base exceeding 100 feet in diameter. At its base, there were more than 20 holes, from which protruded thick cannon barrels. The outer layer was shrouded in a thick white light shield, on which countless mysterious runes flickered and shimmered. This flying palace was surrounded by 7 or 8 large magical instruments of varying sizes, ranging from cloud boats to flying artifacts shaped like mountains and shells. The largest was nearly 100 feet in size, while the smallest exceeded 30 feet. These large and medium-sized flying instruments were adorned with banners embroidered with large characters such as Shen, Chen, Liu, and Zhang, each representing a powerful giant family. Around them, many smaller cloud boats surrounded them. These foundation establishment families were often weaker. At this time, new cloud boats or other flying magical instruments were constantly converging from all directions. At zenith, the sky above Jiling Market was already a dark mass, and now the Zhao family's small, 10-zang-long cloud boat quietly joined them. Before they set off, Zhao Jinjian, the most well-connected and powerful member of the Zhao family, immediately visited the surrounding immortal cultivation families. Firstly, to quickly exchange intelligence and determine their respective targets, thus preventing multiple families from selecting the same target. Secondly, to establish a temporary alliance, allowing for timely assistance and mutual benefit in the event of future danger. No immortal cultivator is foolish, and the Zhao family's approach mirrored that of the vast majority. Therefore, even without Zhao Jinjian's suggestion, some enthusiastic immortal cultivation families had already begun making preparations. An hour later, Zhao Jinjian, filled with worry, returned to the family's cloud boat. The small cloud boat was only 10 zang long, and with nearly 50 members of the Zhao family aboard, the interior became quite cramped. Even though Zhao Sheng and Zhao Keru were both foundation establishment cultivators, their situation wasn't much better. At most, they only had a little more space. On the second deck of the cloud boat, Zhao Jinjian lamented upon seeing Zhao Sheng. "Chong, this is getting a bit tricky," Zhao Sheng asked. "What's the matter? Could it be that the location we chose has also been spotted by other families?" "That's exactly what happened," Zhao Jinjian nodded. "Haha, isn't this all to our surprise? There are only so many spiritual sites in the wilderness, so it's not surprising that one location is simultaneously sought after by multiple families." Zhao Jinjian was alarmed and anxious when he saw Zhao Sheng's nonchalant expression. Although he was over 100 years old, his key cultivation skills were far inferior to Zhao Sheng's. "Chong, at least 2 established foundation-building families have just announced their determination to acquire the sacred sites of Shilin Mountain and Huayan Ridge. After hearing this, aren't you anxious?" Zhao Sheng laughed. "What's the point of being anxious? Besides, what's true and what's false? What's false? What's true? What they say may not be the truth, it could just be a cover. Who would lay all their cards on the table until the truth is revealed?" Zhao Jinjian was stunned by this, then secretly ashamed, thinking that he was so concerned that he couldn't see things as clearly as the younger generation. After Zhao Sheng finished speaking, he asked, "Fourth Master, do you have any information about Rotten Peach Mountain?" Zhao Jinjian shook his head. No family has announced anything yet." Zhao Sheng's lips pursed tightly, his eyes thoughtful. "Chong, do you think someone else has secretly set their sights on Rotten Peach Mountain?" Zhao Jinjian asked tentatively. Zhao Sheng's tone was slightly heavier as he pondered. "There's too little intelligence to analyze. But it's best to make some preparations ahead of time to prevent any unexpected events." Just as Zhao Sheng and his companions were painstakingly planning for their family's great cause, an uninvited visitor suddenly arrived at Pig Emperor Ridge, nestled deep within the Shilin Mountains. The sun blazed brightly, and the sky above Pig Emperor Ridge was a cloudless azure. Suddenly, 100 feet above, space distorted slightly, and a petite figure emerged from the void. Standing only 3 feet tall, with skin as white as jade, a slender and graceful figure, and a flawless face that captivated everyone. "Ah! Who are you? How dare you?" "Ah!" Empress Qianhun, with a deafening roar, a burly figure with a pig's head and a body as strong as a mountain, enveloped in a black, demonic wind, soared into the sky. He roared at the newcomer only halfway before stopping abruptly. "Haha, little Sanju, it's been centuries since we last met. Don't you recognize Huan Yang?" Huan Yang asked seductively with a charming smile. Qianhun Nang Niang, also known as Huan Di Nangzi, was originally a 7th-level Qianhun spirit butterfly. She was one of the 4 demon kings of the 10,000 mountains in southern Xinjiang, and a renowned figure in the world of immortal cultivation in central continent. "Qianhun Nang Niang, please forgive me. Even if I have forgotten my father, I dare not forget you. I wonder what has brought you to Pig Emperor Ridge?" Zhu Sanju asked with a beaming smile, bowing repeatedly. The large pigman's name was Zhu Sanju, a 6th-level pig demon, originally a giant-toothed pig of the ancient species. From the moment a demon beast forms its demon elixir, its rank is equivalent to that of a giant and true person. Ranks 3, 4, and 5 correspond to the early, middle, and late stages of the giant stage. However, a 6th-level demon beast corresponds not to the giant and great perfection stage, but to the false infant stage. 200 years ago, Zhu Sanju, under the guidance of the Pig Emperor, practiced a fragments of the heavenly demon transformation technique, which allowed him to shed his demonic body, refine his transverse bones, and transform into this form. However, because he had not truly overcome the transformation tribulation, Zhu Sanju's transformation was incomplete, and he still had a pig's head. Huan Yang's eyes flickered as she suddenly asked, "Senior Pig Emperor, haven't you woken up yet?" Zhu Sanju's eyes rolled, and he smiled insincerely. "That's right. He's soundly asleep and can't be disturbed. Your Majesty, it's best not to wake him unless it's something serious. The Pig Emperor hates being woken. If he gets angry after getting out of bed and hurts your Majesty, that would be disastrous. HMPH, go ahead and wake the Pig Emperor. I'll take care of anything that happens." "Well, all right. I'll be right there. Your Majesty, wait a moment." Qianhun Yang's charm was so astonishing that Zhu Sanju dared not object, nor even glance at her. He shrank his neck, responded, and, with a gust of black wind, he rushed down from the sky. Nearing the ground, he suddenly turned headfirst and plunged headfirst into the earth, his movements so smooth and silky that not a speck of dust rose. And then, boom, boom. The rolling hills of Pig Emperor Ridge suddenly shook, the ground heaving and undulating, countless deep cracks appearing. In a flash, a layer of earth stretching over 10 miles across the ridge rose rapidly. At this moment, for unknown reasons, the cloudless sky suddenly formed into a thick, dark cloud. Thunder and lightning flashed, and a distinct aura of destruction emanated from the cloud, rapidly spreading across the sky and the earth, in all directions. The moment Huanyang saw the dark cloud gather above, her expression changed drastically. Her form rapidly transformed, disappearing into thin air in an instant. This dark cloud was a sign of the approaching thunder tribulation. And thunder is the absolute enemy of all demons in the world. Even 7th-level demons fear it like the serpent of a snake, fearing they will be caught in the wrath if they fail to evade it in time. Thank you, reader, for your 500-coin reward. Isn't this a coincidence? Thanks to book friend 160,611,020,527,556 for the 100-coin tip. Thanks to book friend 201810141230122830 for the 100-coin tip. Thanks to book friend Cheng Buren for the 100-coin tip. Thanks to book friend Gray Sunshine Boy for the 100-coin tip. Baimut thanks you. Chapter 91 Yui's first appearance and the war as a play. After seeing the calamity clouds, Huanyang suddenly understood why the Pig Emperor had remained secluded within Pig Emperor Ridge for the past 300 years, remaining comatose and unable to awaken. It turned out he was trying to avoid the calamity of thunder. Fortunately, the calamity clouds had vanished just as quickly as they had appeared. 2 breaths later, the dark clouds quickly dissipated, and the sky was once again a peaceful azure. Suddenly, a rich voice echoed in Huanyang's ears, "It's Qian Huan. Please come to the ridge." The pig, I'm a little unwell right now." The next second, Huanyang emerged from the void and reappeared on the ridge. "Pig Emperor, your servant Huandi greets you." At this moment, the ground below shook slightly, and a rich voice emanated from the thick soil. "Haha, after hundreds of years, I see your cultivation has advanced again, Huanyang. This emperor is very pleased. But why are you not acting so arrogantly in the Valley of 10,000 Flowers? Why are you here in Pig Emperor Ridge today?" Huanyang bowed sideways and said earnestly, "Pig Emperor, don't you know that those human cultivators are about to attack us?" "No, how? So what if I don't know?" Huanyang's eyes flickered, and she spoke anxiously, "Pig Emperor, your territory is the gateway to the 100,000 mountains. If the human race attacks, it will inevitably bring disaster. The human race in Central Continent is powerful, and we demons are now huddled in a corner, barely surviving. If this continues, in hundreds or thousands of years, there will be no place for demons in Central Continent anymore. For the future of the demon race, and for the chance of survival for countless little demons, I beg the Pig Emperor to teach the human race a profound lesson." As soon as the words fell, the earth trembled uncontrollably. The Pig Emperor laughed and said, "Haha, the younger generation all say that Empress Qian Huan is eloquent, and today I finally got to see it. But don't you see, can I, old pig, take action in my current state?" Upon hearing this, Empress Qian Huan bit her lip unwillingly, looking pitiful. She thought for a moment and said tentatively, "Since the Pig King is unable to take action, can I do it for you? I hope you won't blame me for being cruel then, haha. Just go ahead, Huanyang. No matter how many little demons die in the territory, I won't feel bad. But one thing, don't trick my own people into going, especially that Zhu Sanju who gets carried away by beauty." Coincidentally, at this moment, Zhu Sanju sneaked out of the ground, raised his head and stared at Huanyang's skirt, with a squinting face like a pig, drooling from the corner of his mouth, but he was completely unaware. Huanyang laughed softly, her eyes radiating with charm, and said, "Don't worry, Pig King, I won't use the magic of illusion and dream on him." After a while, Huanyang achieved her purpose and left with satisfaction. When Pig Emperor Ridge was deserted, the Pig Emperor's voice suddenly echoed from the sky, "Are you satisfied now?" Before he finished speaking, a handsome young Taoist priest appeared on Pig Emperor Ridge. "Satisfied? Senior Pig Emperor, I can sense your sincerity. HMPH, where's the thing you promised me?" The young Taoist smiled slightly, and with a flick of his wrist, a strange roll of leather appeared in his palm. At the same time, he spoke. "The other half of the heavenly demon form refining technique is here. However, the Pig Emperor promised me that once I obtain this technique, I will immediately give up this 7,000 li wasteland. To be cautious, please swear a true spirit tribulation oath." Little devil, I am not like you humans who go back on your word. Since you don't trust me, I will swear a true spirit tribulation oath. Zhu Chongshan, swear by the bloodline of the ancient true spirit Chongshan pig. If I break this oath, my bloodline will backfire, and I will be shattered by the thunder of the heavens and die. HMPH, now you can rest assured, right? The newly promoted nascent soul cultivator, Patriarch, bowed slightly and apologized. Please understand, Senior Pig Emperor, I have no choice. After all, our races are different, and without a guarantee, it would be difficult for us to trust each other. With this, he casually tossed the heavenly demon scroll to the ground. As soon as the scroll left his hand, it was swept away by a gust of black wind, disappearing without a trace in the blink of an eye. A moment later, the Pig Emperor's satisfied voice rang out between heaven and earth. That's right. Kid, you really didn't lie to me. Smiled and said, how dare I lie to the Pig Emperor? You are a ninth-order demon king who is about to forge a true spiritual body. My danding sect can't afford the wrath of the senior, haha. You don't have to flatter me. I said I won't interfere, and I will never do anything secretly. You should worry about that little girl Huaniang. She hates the human race to the core, I said nonchalantly. Since I dared to launch a war to expand the territory, I was naturally prepared for Empress Qianhuan. Although she is extremely difficult to deal with, she is not without weaknesses. I already have a complete plan. In that case, I don't bother you to care about the trivial matters of these young people. You can go and capture the wilderness, but as for the Pig Emperor Ridge, you have to wait until I have overcome the true spiritual tribulation. I said, I'm in no rush. However, to silence the world's gossip, I'd like to ask the Pig King and Wu to put on a few shows. It's just a show, simple enough. Little Sanzi, come out. Before he finished speaking, Zhu Sanju, a pig-headed human, suddenly emerged from the earth, riding a black wind and flying in front of the Patriarch. He respectfully looked toward the raised area below and called out, Master, what are your orders? Little Sanzi, play a few games with him. The rumbling of heaven and earth resounded again. I will obey your orders, Master, Zhu Sanju responded with a beaming smile. At 5 p.m., when all the forces participating in the pioneering war had gathered, the defensive light shield of the floating palace in the center suddenly flickered 9 times. This was like a signal. Afterward, the floating palace slowly ascended into the Xianggang atmosphere, and the nearby cloud boats and other flying instruments followed suit like fish. Suddenly, the floating palace's speed increased from slow to rapid, erupting with a roar as a sonic boom cloud erupted, instantly dispersing the atmospheric clouds and soaring rapidly into the southwest sky. The aircraft behind it also quickly took off, one after another catching up. Due to the difference in speed, a long torrent of water quickly formed in the sky. Zhao Sheng's small cloud boat, however, was the least powerful and was left behind from the start. He didn't mind. While the first to arrive may seize the advantage, in a war, the victor is the one who laughs last. A day later, the 5,000 miles had been traveled. As the morning sun gradually rose, Zhao Sheng stood at the bow of the boat, surveying the land. By then, traces of human activity on the surface of the earth had gradually diminished, eventually disappearing. In the place were endless hills and a vast, gray-green forest, while more and more demonic beasts and poisonous clouds appeared in the field of view. Looking out, Zhao Sheng felt a sense of boundless and brutal barbarism, and his previously calm mind suddenly became wild. At this time, flying instruments like cloud boats began to break away from the group, dispersing to various locations across the wasteland. Some traveled alone, while others in groups of 3 or 4. Thanks to fellow book friends Qingchen and Noru Sao for their 1,500 coin tip. Thanks to fellow book friend 20220211101626377 for their 500 coin tip. Thanks to fellow book friend 20200211235648898 for their 300 coin tip. Thanks to fellow book friend Russ Moore for his 100 coin tip. Baymut thanks you. Chapter 92, Encountering Obstacles at Flame Ridge and Heading to Rotten Peach Mountain. About half an hour later, the entire group thinned out. At this point, Zhao Jinjian approached Zhao Sheng, took out a map, unfolded it, and asked, where should we go first? The Zhao family had previously selected 3 targets, Shilin Mountain, Huiyan Ridge, and Rotten Peach Mountain, but hadn't made a final decision. They needed to conduct on-site exploration before they could truly determine which spiritual site would be most suitable for the Zhao family. Zhao Sheng immediately said, let's go to Huan Ridge first, then to Rotten Peach Mountain. The two locations are perfectly aligned. Okay, let's go to Huan Ridge first. A moment later, the Zhao family's cloud boat suddenly tilted its bow, making a sharp 70-degree turn. It quickly separated from the group and flew towards the eastern horizon. Half an hour later, the 600 miles were behind them. Just then, Zhao Jinjian suddenly shouted, Chong, someone's following us. Zhao Sheng turned and looked back. His eyes narrowed slightly, and he could see a faint black dot at the edge of the sky. After observing it for a moment, Zhao Sheng determined it was a small cloud boat, roughly the same size and length as the one he was standing on. Don't worry about it, maybe it's just passing through. As Zhao Sheng spoke, someone on the cloud boat behind them was discussing the Zhao family. The aged Shen Zhanghu, looking at the family's foundation establishment cultivators, asked, Uncle, are we just following them? Shen Yangyao was the only one of the Shen family's foundation establishment cultivators, having reached the middle stage of the foundation establishment stage. He stared at the cloud boat ahead and said, the Taiwu Mountain Zhao family recently married into the Damshangjia family. They must know a lot of inside information we don't. Instead of blindly choosing a location, why not follow the Zhao family? The spiritual land they've chosen must be good. That makes sense, and I already knew it. The highest of the two foundation establishment cultivators in the Zhao family is only at the 3rd level. There's no need for the Great Elder to intervene. I can handle it alone. Shenyang Ao didn't know that the Zhao family had a 3rd foundation building cultivator. After Zhao Sheng established his foundation, he had been staying in the secret house of Xianzhu Mountain until recently when he returned to Taiwu Mountain because of the land expansion war. Because he deliberately kept a low profile, outsiders had no idea that the Zhao family actually had a 3rd foundation building cultivator. A quarter of an hour later, Zhao Sheng's brows gradually frowned. The cloud boat behind him had been following him closely, which could no longer be explained by coincidence. He thought about it, and suddenly shouted loudly, Uncle Ru, slow down. Everyone be alert. The cloud boat slowed down sharply in response, and the Zhao clansmen took out flying swords, crossbows and other weapons. Their expressions instantly became serious. Zhao Jinjian next to him said coldly, are you going to confront the ones behind? Zhao Sheng said in a deep voice, go and say hello first, and then we'll talk after we see the situation. On the other side, Uncle, the Zhao family has slowed down. It's no big deal, just go and meet them. A moment later, the cloud boats of the Shen and Zhao families were standing opposite each other in the sky, 100 feet apart. Zhao Sheng did not show up for the time being. Zhao Jinjian stepped out of the bow of the boat, controlled the Chiheng sword, flew to the middle of the two boats, and said loudly, the Zhao family of Taiwu Mountain is here. May I ask which distinguished guest is on the other side? Haha, the Shen family of Shenan. Shenyang Ao greets fellow Taoist Zhao. Shenyang Ao jumped out of the cloud boat and laughed at the same time. Zhao Jinjian said with a serious expression, why did your family follow my Zhao family? Follow? Haha, what a joke. This sky so vast, my Shen family can fly however we like. How does it bother your Zhao family? Shenyang Ao sneered. Zhao Jinjian paused and said, in that case, how about your family go first, huh? Shenyang Ao heard this, a cold light flashed in his eyes, and said in a cold voice, what do you mean by this? Nothing, it's just that my cloud boat just happened to have a small problem, and I have to stop for repairs for a while. Zhao Jinjian said calmly. After listening, Shenyang Ao paused in the air with a gloomy expression, and did not speak immediately. At this time, Zhao Keru suddenly flew out from the cloud boat and rushed to stand shoulder to shoulder with Zhao Jinjian. Facing the two foundation building cultivators, Shenyang Ao's face was fierce and he was about to take action. Suddenly, he paused and listened attentively. After a few breaths, Shenyang Ao nodded, then turned around and flew back to the cloud boat without hesitation. Soon, the Shen family's cloud boat accelerated past the Zhao families and flew away towards the horizon. Back on the cloud boat, Zhao Jinjian immediately found Zhao Sheng and asked puzzledly, what the hell is the Shen family doing? Why did they suddenly slip away without a word? Could we have guessed wrong? Zhao Sheng did not answer immediately. After making a stroke on the map, he smiled and said, Fourth Master, we were a little careless this time. Come and see. As he spoke, Zhao Sheng drew a straight line on the map and explained, since we left the team, we flew in a straight line towards Flame Ridge. We are now less than 200 miles away from Flame Ridge. If they pay a little attention, They can easily find our target. Zhao Jinjian leaned over to take a look, and indeed they were very close to Flame Ridge. His expression tensed, and he immediately said, "Then what are we waiting for? Hurry up and catch up. Don't let the Shen family get ahead." Zhao Sheng shook his head and said, "No need to chase. Give up Flame Ridge for the time being, and go directly to Rotten Peach Mountain. There is a ground fire vein in Flame Ridge, which is very useful for alchemy and refining. This target is too conspicuous, and it is not easy for the Shen family to take it. Now there may be several fishermen waiting to pick up the ready-made ones. It doesn't hurt to be a fisherman, by the way." A quarter of an hour later, the Zhao family's cloud boat flew through thick clouds. Beneath the clouds was a reddish-brown mountain with sparse vegetation and a concave valley in the middle. By now, the Shen family's cloud boat had landed on the summit of this extinct volcano. After passing Flaming Ridge, the cloud boat flew for another 400 miles. Zhao Sheng looked down and saw wisps of pink mist rising from the mountains ahead. Rotten Peach Mountain has finally arrived. Then, the cloud boat suddenly descended from the sky, landing in a valley 20 miles from Rotten Peach Mountain. Upon landing, without Zhao Sheng's command, the Zhao family members immediately disembarked and, according to their pre-planned plan, began setting up a temporary camp. Zhao Chongwei, at the 7th level of key refining, led a team of innate warriors into the nearby forest to hunt and explore the surroundings. Zhao Xuanjing, at the 8th level of key refining, led several key refining clan members and quickly found a stable rock face. Using the rock-to-mud spell, they began digging a cave into the mountain. Zhao Xuanjing has been digging and building cave dwellings on Xiansu Mountain for nearly 20 years. Now a master cave digger, building a temporary cave dwelling is a piece of cake. In just 2 hours, as dusk gradually fell, a cave dwelling with more than 20 stone chambers, a hall, and storage rooms was complete. After the Zhao family moved into the cave dwelling, Zhao Sheng and Zhao Jinjian quickly set up a warning array around the cave dwelling. Thanks to book friend Link Xiang for the 500 coin reward. Thanks to book friends Heifatrin for the 500 coin reward. Thanks to book friend 20180620093800628 for the 100 coin reward. Baimuyi thanks you. Chapter 93. I really don't want to be a fisherman. The night passed in silence. The next morning, Zhao Sheng instructed the others to rest in the cave and wait for orders. Then, he, Zhao Jinjian, and Zhao Xuanjing quietly headed for Rotten Peach Mountain. Wars are fought on intelligence. Before attacking Rotten Peach Mountain, the Zhao family must thoroughly investigate the situation there. Half a quarter of an hour later, they arrived at Rotten Peach Mountain. Seeing the vibrant pink peach blossom miasma before them, the three wisely paused. Zhao Sheng pulled out a storage bag and handed it to Zhao Xuanjing. The bag contained various talismans, including invisibility talismans, spirit-suppressing talismans, phantom escape talismans, and the 1,000 silk sword rain talisman. Zhao Sheng asked with concern, "Xuanjing, are you alright?" Zhao Xuanjing slapped the spirit insect bag at his waist, and a 7-foot-long golden ring spirit earthworm, resembling a giant python, instantly landed on the ground near the three of them. As soon as the golden ring spirit earthworm emerged, it affectionately circled Zhao Xuanjing. Zhao Xuanjing patted the spirit earthworm's head and smiled at Zhao Sheng. "Uncle 7th, with Xiaojin here, I'm safe." Zhao Sheng nodded, knowing he wasn't exaggerating. Zhao Xuanjing's insistence on bringing Xiaojin back had indeed brought the Zhao family a great surprise. Zhao Xuanjing and the golden-ringed spirit earthworm worked seamlessly together, unexpectedly developing the earth escape ability, allowing them to move freely through the soil. The immense usefulness of this earth escape ability goes without saying. Of all the Zhao family members, including the 3 foundation establishment cultivators, Zhao Xuanjing was the perfect choice to explore Rotten Peach Mountain. 4th ancestor, Uncle 7th, I'm going. After greeting them, Zhao Xuanjing embraced the golden-ringed spirit earthworm's neck. A faint yellow glow emanated from both their bodies. Suddenly, the ground nearby softened like water, and Zhao Xuanjing and Xiaoqi sank abruptly into the ground. The ground quickly returned to normal, and the area where the man and the earthworm had been was now empty. Zhao Sheng and Zhao Jinjian whispered a few words, and Zhao Jinjian remained stationed. Zhao Sheng, in turn, took a miasma-breaking pill, concealed his form, gathered his energy, and secretly soared high into the sky, surveying Rotten Peach Mountain. Rotten Peach Mountain was only 200 or 300 feet high, a gentle, continuous slope with 3 peaks and 2 valleys, covering an area of nearly 100 square kilometers. As its name suggests, Rotten Peach Mountain was covered in peach trees. Long unpicked, the ground was littered with rotting peaches. For thousands of years, the fallen leaves and branches of the peach trees had accumulated a thick layer of humus. After fermenting, this humus, mixed with the rotting peaches, gradually gave rise to clouds of the highly toxic yet captivating peach blossom miasma. Over time, Rotten Peach Mountain was gradually engulfed in a thick miasma, leaving few insects or animals on the mountain, save for a group of exotic white apes who loved peaches and were unfazed by the miasma. An hour later, Zhao Sheng, standing 100 feet in the air, gazed down at the peach forest below. He could clearly see numerous white apes with incredibly long arms frolicking and chasing each other. These apes were massive, most around 5 feet tall, though a few reached 7 or 8 feet. Their bodies were agile and their movements swift. Even more astonishing, Zhao Sheng discovered that these exotic apes possessed a remarkable skill in throwing objects, capable of striking anything with uncanny accuracy. They hurled gravel, peach bits, and even poop. Judging by the repeated slicing of wind and the effortless snapping of branches, Zhao Sheng was certain that the apes possessed incredible strength, with even the weakest possessing a force exceeding 1,000 pounds. After circling 3 hills, Zhao Sheng was deeply astonished. He had just carefully counted the apes and found that they numbered over 100, with at least 10 standing over 7 feet tall. According to his initial observations, white apes over 7 feet tall were as powerful as those in the middle stage of key refining, and some over 9 feet could even rival those in the late stage of key refining. Furthermore, he found no trace of the second-level white apes. He only spotted a stone cave beneath a cliff in the middle of the valley, with bones scattered around the cave. If his guess was correct, this cave must be the home of the 2 second-level white apes. Zhao Sheng didn't rashly sneak into the cave to investigate, but instead returned to Zhao Jinjian. About half an hour later, the ground in front of them suddenly glowed with a yellow light, and in a flash, Zhao Xuanjing emerged from the ground, holding the golden ring spirit earthworm. "Seventh uncle, let's talk about this back home," Zhao Sheng suddenly interrupted. Later, the 3 of them returned to the temporary camp cave. After they sat down in the stone chamber, Zhao Xuanjing eagerly shared the detailed intelligence they had gathered. Zhao Sheng was right, the 2 second-level white apes had indeed remained hidden in the cave. To his great surprise, the female ape was pregnant. This was great news. Pregnant demonic beasts often experience a significant decrease in strength. Zhao Sheng had previously worried about how to capture the 2 second-level white apes, but now, with this heaven-sent opportunity, he couldn't miss it. He acted decisively, deciding to wait until the male apes were alone. Xuanjing would then unite all the tribesmen practicing earth-based techniques to cast a spell, collapsing the passageway and temporarily sealing the cave. He, Zhao Jinjian, and Zhao Keri would then attack the second-level male ape, aiming for victory in a single battle. However, plans couldn't keep pace, and Zhao Sheng's plan was abandoned before it even began. That afternoon, Rotten Peach Mountain welcomed another group of uninvited visitors. As the sun set, Zhao Sheng stood on the branch of an ancient tree, gazing out at Rotten Peach Mountain from afar. Meanwhile, a cloud boat with a crimson dragon carved into it circled the mountain sky, appearing quite arrogant and openly targeting it. After observing for a moment, Zhao Xuanjing, standing nearby, asked with a surprised expression, "Seventh uncle, are the people in this family stupid?" Zhao Sheng smiled and said, "Maybe not stupid, but just arrogant. Judging from the style of the cloud boat, this family isn't from southern Xinjiang, but rather from the 10 dynasties cultivation world. The demonic beasts of the 10 dynasties are almost extinct, and the cultivators there have probably long forgotten the terror of the wild beasts." Zhao Xuanjing scratched his chin and asked, "So, should we take action?" Zhao Sheng smiled and said, "It's not good to have other families rushing to be cannon fodder. Let's wait and see." "Okay, then I'll go back and inform everyone." "Go." Zhao Xuanjing left, and Zhao Sheng continued to silently observe the movements in Rotten Peach Mountain. This new family wasn't completely foolish, they had also taken the time to scout the surrounding area. This was when Zhao Sheng's earlier cautious approach paid off. The Zhao family's camp was in a cave, and with their deliberate concealment, the other family wouldn't be able to detect them. And there were other forces hiding in the valley 20 miles away. A day later, the war between the foreign forces and the white apes of Rotten Peach Mountain began with a rain of fire from the sky. On a hilltop 10 miles southwest of Rotten Peach Mountain, Zhao Sheng, Zhao Keru and Zhao Jinjian, 3 Foundation establishment cultivators, stood side by side. With solemn expressions, they gazed at the flames and smoke rising from Rotten Peach Mountain. They watched as red-robed cultivators leaped from their cloud boats like dumplings, fearlessly charging into the herd of white apes. However, their imagination fell far short of reality. The apes were too fast and agile. Sometimes, a single spell would have already seen them leap far away. Flying swords and knives slashed like rain, but they often ended up slicing through the air. Spells like fireballs and golden swords were often shattered by the rocks. The cultivators' arrogance lasted only a moment before they were scratched, bitten, knocked back, and even crushed, their tendons and bones broken, forcing them back repeatedly. Thanks to my fellow reader, who am I, for the 500 coin tip. Thanks to my fellow reader, Peng Shen Shi Jian Ying, for the 500 coin tip. Thanks to my fellow reader, Banana Boycotter, for the 100 coin tip. Baimuyi thanks you. Chapter 94, Run Away. Listening to the roars and screams of the apes emanating from Rotten Peach Mountain, Zhao Sheng whispered, "It's a good thing we didn't act first." "Yes. I didn't expect these white apes to be so ferocious," Zhao Keru said in fear. Zhao Jinjian, however, said, "The outcome of this battle is yet to be decided. The key lies in whether that family's Foundation establishment cultivator can subdue the second-level White Ape King. Look, that White Ape King has appeared." Zhao Sheng and Zhao Keru both looked in that direction. At that moment, a massive white ape suddenly emerged from the stone cave. Standing 15 feet tall, its muscles bulged like a diamond, its arms incredibly powerful, like 2 massive stone pillars. Most strikingly, the White Ape King wielded a club in his right hand, over 9 feet long, as thick as a thigh, and cratered with pits. The club's surface was covered in a thick layer of blood and flesh, obscuring its original texture. After emerging from the cave, the White Ape King raised his head and roared furiously. He suddenly leaped up to a height of 70 to 80 feet, swinging his mighty club with a shrill whistling sound as he smashed down on a red-robed elder suspended in midair. The elder, a Foundation establishment cultivator from his clan, was controlling a spirit fire gourd, unleashing a vast, crimson rain of fire that scorched the fur and flesh of the white apes below, sending them fleeing in all directions. The elder, careless, only realized, as the club was about to strike, that a second-level white ape was hiding among the group. Shocked, he instinctively raised the spirit fire gourd to his head. Boom! With a resounding roar, a shower of spiritual fire erupted, sending the elder flying backwards and crashing to the ground. A shallow crater had formed in his body, and he lay there, spewing blood. The red-robed elder was heartbroken, not because of his own injuries but because his ancestral spirit fire gourd had been cracked, piercing through it. Wisps of crimson spiritual fire leaked directly from the cracks. "Be careful, old ancestor, get out of the way." At that moment, 2 startled shouts suddenly reached the red-robed elder's ears. Before he could react, his vision darkened and a cold wind swept overhead. Terrified, he ignored everything else and instantly activated the talisman in his arms. Instantly, a massive, pitch-black shield, its surface like a tortoise shell, materialized above the elder's head. The shadowy image of a giant, one-horned tortoise appeared on its surface. Bang! The club slammed into the shield, and the White Ape King's unparalleled divine power erupted in an instant. Unexpectedly, the shield remained motionless, and instead, the White Ape King stumbled back, shaken by his own incredible power. Roar! The White Ape King's attack failed, his eyes red with rage. Clutching his club in both hands, he leaped to his feet, unleashing a furious frenzy. His club sent flying shadows crashing down upon the tortoise-shell shield like a thunderstorm, leaving the red-robed elder no chance to dodge. These long-armed white apes were exceptionally agile, and the White Ape King was their foremost. His movements were so swift and powerful that ordinary eyes could barely discern his movements, only seeing the White Ape King's presence. In just 2 breaths, the tortoise-shell shield, blasted by hundreds of ferocious blows, shrank at a visible speed. The red-robed elder, behind the shield, was visibly crimson, his face bloodshot, his body slammed deep into the earth. Seeing his shield about to break, the red-robed elder, no longer concerned for his dignity, shouted upwards, "Hurry, attack!" Before he could finish his words, a terrifying burst of sword energy erupted from the cloud boat. The next moment, a massive golden sword beam shot up into the sky, a shadowy image of a small, scarlet gold sword looming within it. Slash! A cold shout echoed from the cloud boat, and the golden sword light suddenly pierced the sky, slashing down. Below, the White Ape King, sensing unprecedented danger, suddenly raised his head and roared, fiercely blocking with his mighty club. In an instant, the golden sword beam effortlessly pierced through the White Ape King's body, its aftermath sweeping across the ground behind him, carving an arrow, slashing wound over 20 feet long and 3 feet deep. The blade cleaved through rock and wood, severing dozens of peach trees, each as thick as a man's embrace, in half. The power of the single sword was terrifying. Zhao Sheng and the other two, 10 miles away, witnessed this awe-inspiring blow with their own eyes, all aghast. A talisman. It must be a talisman, Zhao Jinjian exclaimed. Well, as expected of a family from the 10 dynasties of immortal cultivation, their wealth is indeed substantial. Including that shield, they've already used 2 talismans, Zhao Sheng nodded and sighed. Alice, with the White Ape King's death, most of Rotten Peach Mountain has fallen into other hands. Shouldn't we take action? Zhao Karu couldn't help but ask. No hurry, let's wait and see. Zhao Sheng had just said something inexplicable when he suddenly exclaimed in surprise. Huh? He's not dead, he exclaimed in amazement. Yes. After taking a full-strength blow equivalent to Jinden's Henren, he's still alive. The material of the club in the White Ape King's hand is extraordinary, Zhao Jinjian exclaimed at the same time. As the two sighed, on Rotten Peach Mountain, the White Ape King, panting heavily, pounded his club to the ground. Though it survived, it was severely wounded. The impact of the sword's energies left its skin ripped with countless wounds of varying depths. Some were over half a foot long, so deep that the bone was visible. Blood streamed from the wounds, quickly staining its fur red. The red-robed elder, holding his shield, carefully pulled the weapon out of the pit. As he retreated, his gaze greedily surveyed the massive club. The seemingly unremarkable club, made of an unknown material, had been slashed with a sword wound over 2 inches deep. Remember, that was a blow from a magical flying sword. Ordinary mid to low-grade spiritual weapons wouldn't have been able to withstand it, yet the club, thanks to its very nature, withstood it. Coming from a family of weapon refiners, the red-robed elder was well aware of what this meant. But he had no time to dwell on it. The White Ape King, having suffered a severe loss, suddenly roared at his white apes, then, club raised, charged forward again. The red-robed elder's expression changed drastically upon seeing this. At this moment, the white apes suddenly shifted from their previously scattered disorganization and gathered in groups of 3 or 5, like an army, to unite against a single cultivator. This sudden change instantly routed the human forces. At this moment, a red-robed middle-aged man suddenly emerged from the cloud boat. He was another Foundation establishment cultivator from the clan. Because he specialized in weapon refinement rather than combat, he had initially stayed out of the fight. Now, seeing his clan's imminent defeat, he felt compelled to join the fray. It would have been better if he hadn't appeared. As soon as he did, a furious roar suddenly rang out. Roar! Before the middle-aged man could react, a giant blue stone flew towards him like lightning, crashing down upon him. Puff! The red-robed middle-aged man vomited blood and was sent flying backwards 4 or 5 feet, crashing into a peach tree before collapsing. It was only then that everyone realized, to their horror, that a gigantic, pot-bellied white ape had suddenly appeared near the cave. Seeing this, these people were completely disheartened, truly feeling the pain of insufficient intelligence. Unfortunately, it was too late to realize this now. Run! Thanks to fellow book friend Cheng Zai for the 1,500 coin tip. Thanks to Bai Mei for the 100 coin tip. Chapter 95, No Martial Ethics. Run! Seeing the 2 foundation-building masters of the clan defeated, someone in the crowd shouted. Everyone, oblivious to the consequences, fled desperately for the mountain's edge. The red-robed middle-aged man, seeing things were going badly, quickly flew back to the cloud boat. He attempted to land several times, but each time was blasted back by a cannonball-like rock. After several attempts, the cloud boat gave up on landing at Rotten Peach Mountain and fled farther, hoping to reunite with the remaining clan members. The white apes were already engaged in a frenzy, offering no chance of escape. The White Ape King led the charge, pursuing the red-robed elder who had fled from the Imperial Guard, while the other white apes followed in groups. Facing the swift movements of these alien white apes, the cultivators, already unfamiliar with their surroundings, faced a precarious situation. In just a few minutes, most of the cultivators were surrounded by the white apes, either mauled to death or torn into pieces. Of course, before their deaths, these cultivators also killed a significant number of white apes. The battle between humans and demons had concluded. While the white apes were victorious, they had also suffered heavy casualties. A little earlier, Zhao Sheng and the other two were surprised to see the cultivators fleeing. While the situation was unfavorable for humanity, any average person would know that fleeing was the utterly foolish option. Yet, these people chose the most undesirable option. This baffled the three. At that moment, a yellow light suddenly shone from the ground nearby, and Zhao Xuanjing emerged from the ground, clutching the spirit earthworm. Seeing the three people frowning, Zhao Xuanjing was shocked and asked quickly, "Fourth grandfather, seventh uncle, what's wrong with you? Did something happen again?" Zhao Sheng saw him coming back and smiled, "Nothing, we are just a little surprised that these cultivators performed so poorly. It seems that they have enjoyed themselves in the mortal world for too long and can be so stupid." Zhao Xuanjing nodded and agreed, "Yes. They are too stupid. I just shouted to run away. They actually ran away." "What? As soon as you shouted to run away, they really ran away?" Haha. Zhao Sheng was greatly surprised when he heard this, and couldn't help laughing at the end. Zhao Karu next to him couldn't help laughing and asked, "Ginger, when did you become so smart?" Zhao Xuanjing touched the back of his head and asked with a strange expression, "Am I stupid?" Haha. The three people laughed out loud when they heard this. After a while, when the three men's laughter subsided, Zhao Xuanjing quickly changed the subject, asking, "When do we start?" Zhao Sheng gazed toward Rotten Peach Mountain, 10 miles away. From afar, he watched the White Ape King dragging the corpse of the red-robed old man back. He smiled and said, "Don't worry. The darkest time is just before dawn." The sun set and the stars shifted, and in the blink of an eye, dawn was less than half an hour away. While the outside world was pitch black, the Zhao family's cave was brightly lit. Zhao Sheng stood on the stone platform, gazing down at the fully armed Zhao clan members below. With a solemn expression, he asked, "Are you ready?" "Ready," the men shouted in high spirits. Zhao Sheng nodded, and finally gave another instruction, "We'll strike later. Be ruthless and swift, and don't forget to coordinate. Now, let's go." "Yes," the Zhao clan members responded in unison, then split into two teams and filed out of the cave. Led by Zhao Chongwei and Zhao Keqing, two late-stage key refining cultivators, the two teams quickly moved toward Rotten Peach Mountain. Meanwhile, on Rotten Peach Mountain, Zhao Xuanjing stealthily emerged from the ground, gazing at the soundly sleeping white apes with a sly smile. He then pulled a stack of ochre talismans from his storage bag and began burying them around the group. These ochre talismans were first tier, known as stone prison talismans. Zhao Sheng had specially crafted a batch before setting out, initially assuming they would be of little use. Unexpectedly, a naive young man rushed to protect the Zhao family from disaster. The white apes had never imagined that after repelling the enemy, someone would plot against them from behind. Consequently, they let their guard down and fell prey to the schemes of a treacherous old man. To avoid detection by the White Ape King, Zhao Xuanjing didn't venture deep into the stone cave, merely planting earth-strike talismans like the earth-splitting talisman and the earth-splitting talisman on the outer edges and slightly inward. About half an hour later, the sky began to brighten. Just then, the Zhao family arrived at the foot of Rotten Peach Mountain. It was the time of year when the peach blossom miasma in Rotten Peach Mountain was at its lightest, offering optimal visibility. Even figures could be spotted from 30 or 40 steps away. Unlike dense fog or clouds, peach blossom miasma, bred from rotting fruit, rose in greater and greater amounts the stronger the sunlight and the higher the temperature, lingering thickly for a long time. Zhao Xuanjing, who had been waiting at the foot of the mountain, immediately approached and whispered something to Zhao Sheng. Zhao Sheng nodded, then turned and waved to his clansmen. Seeing this, the Zhao clan members ingested miasma-breaking pills. Two teams, one on each side, slowly approached the slumbering white apes. A moment later, as they neared a 30-meter radius, one of the apes, with its keen sense of smell, was finally startled. Squeak! Two cries echoed almost simultaneously. At that moment, Zhao Xuanjing grinned, his entire spiritual energy erupting. A vast expanse of yellow light swept across the surrounding ground. The next moment, countless massive stone pillars suddenly erupted from the ground surrounding the white apes. These pillars crisscrossed and twisted, forming a vast stone prison, trapping the newly awakened white apes. As the prison took shape, the next wave of attacks followed. First came a hail of arrows. 21 of the Zhao clan's innate masters, each wielding a magical crossbow, unleashed a barrage of fire at the apes. Trapped in place, unable to escape, the apes were pierced by steel armor-piercing arrows. Some were lucky enough to escape, but the unfortunate were pierced through the foreheads, eyes, and hearts. But this wasn't the end of the matter. Following the rain of arrows, a wave of blazing fireballs, ice blades, golden needles, stone spikes, and other magical weapons, mingled with flying swords, demon-breaking knives, triangular spears, and other magical weapons, descended upon the unfortunate apes. Having fought a fierce battle yesterday, their physical strength and magical powers had barely recovered. Now, they were confronted by a group of unscrupulous Zhao family members. Bad luck just opened the door to bad luck, terrible bad luck. Though the Zhao family had expended many white apes, that was all they could do. The stone prison held out for mere breaths before this incredibly powerful alien species of white apes shattered it. Thus began a life and death battle. Despite heavy casualties, one side remained fierce and agile. The other, with high morale and expert coordination, lacked practical combat experience. These innate warriors were no match for the white apes and could only serve as human shields. Zhao Shuo's wandering dragon sword slashed wildly, sending streams of sword light swirling and forming a faint curtain of light. Even so, his heart trembled, and he felt a shroud of claws before his eyes. Only when he engaged the white apes in direct combat did he realize with astonishment that their speed was so immense that he couldn't tell which was real and which was fake, forcing him to passively defend himself. Thanks to my book friend Zhu Longzhuan for the 233 coin reward. Thanks to the book friend Isn't This a Coincidence for the 100 coin reward. Thanks to the book friend 154557617003339634647 for the 100 coin reward. Baimut thanks you. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 96, A Pitiful Victory. Ah! A sudden scream echoed nearby. Zhao Shuo caught a glimpse of the oldest, Zhao Wangxi, already collapsed to the ground, a gaping hole in his chest. It was clear he was dying. Zhao Shuo couldn't care less to grieve. He felt the sword in his hand grow heavier, his once powerful innate ki draining at an alarming rate. But he couldn't call for help, and he dared not flee. The cultivators in his family were in much worse shape than he was. If he cowardly fled, he would surely die. If not at the hands of the white ape, then at the hands of his own people. Since death was inevitable, why not die for the family? Hold on, Zhao Shuo mentally encouraged himself, steeling his resolve as he swallowed the explosive ki pill hidden beneath his tongue. A breath later, he felt as if a volcano erupted in his stomach. Infinite heat instantly burned through his body, and in an instant, every limb was filled with renewed strength. Simultaneously, a vast amount of innate ki surged from his muscles, bone marrow, and internal organs, rapidly filling his nearly depleted danshan. In an instant, Zhao Shuo's energy and spirit surged to an unprecedented peak. Slow down, the white ape, once so fast it left a fleeting afterimage, suddenly seemed to slow considerably, allowing Zhao Shuo to discern its movements. Kill, Zhao Shuo roared, his eyes bloodshot. With the swiftness of his wandering dragon sword, its tip radiated a 3-inch blade that instantly pierced the white ape's brow. Aided by the explosive ki pill, Zhao Shuo, facing life and death head-on, achieved a breakthrough, officially entering the realm of innate great perfection. Bang! Zhao Shuo's sword swung away a whistling piece of debris and abruptly leaped into another battle, joining forces with the cultivators against a white ape. The human-ape war quickly intensified. 6 or 7 members of the Zhao clan fell, while the white apes, exhausted from the continuous fighting, suffered even more casualties. Zhao Sheng, Zhao Jinjian, and Zhao Keru stared at the stone cave in full battle readiness. As the battle erupted, the white ape king, whipping up a gust of bloody wind, bolted from the cave. As it emerged, a crimson rainbow slashed towards it. Bang! A club's shadow swept through the air, easily knocking the crimson sword away with a thud. Suddenly, a white mist appeared, enveloping most of the white ape king. In a flash, countless water droplets imbued with razor-sharp sword energy hummed and vibrated within the mist, instantly unleashing the divine sword-slaying power. At that moment, A flash of sword-light gleamed from the depths of the White Ape King's fierce eyes, growing ever brighter until it filled his heart. The next moment, he felt a splitting headache, as if his head had been severed by a sword. The White Ape King's fierce eyes suddenly blanked, his body frozen in place. A golden opportunity. At that moment, the ground beneath his feet glowed yellow, and a giant golden-ringed python suddenly surged to the surface, tightly entangling the White Ape King's thick legs and desperately pulling them downward. With a thud, the White Ape King was pulled down into the earth from the waist down. At that moment, the White Ape King regained his composure and used his arms to brace himself against the ground, preventing himself from being dragged down into the earth. Just one wrong move, and the whole game was lost. The White Ape King, who had dominated the mountains for centuries, could never have imagined how many times humans had rehearsed their plans to defeat him. Just as he braced himself from sinking, a spiritual cauldron, as large as a vat, suddenly descended from the sky, slamming heavily onto his head. A buzzing sound. The White Ape King was stunned, his vision ablaze with golden light, and the world spun. Puff. Suddenly, a flash of crimson light flashed before his eyes, and then he felt a sharp pain in his neck, and then his vision vanished in a sharp pain. A moment before he was plunged into darkness, the White Ape King heard a resounding roar from the cave, followed by a roar of shock and anger. Zhao Sheng breathed a sigh of relief as he watched the White Ape King's head tossed high in the air. He immediately flew to the edge of the cave and stood beside Zhao Zunjing. The cave had already collapsed, but the rubble blocking the entrance continued to vibrate. The faint roar of the female Ape King could be heard from behind. Zhao Zunjing said solemnly, "Seventh uncle, it looks like we can't hold them off for much longer." Zhao Sheng said with a relaxed expression, "It's okay. The outcome is settled now." As he spoke, Zhao Keru and Zhao Jinjian had already plunged into the ape herd, slaughtering them relentlessly. Half an hour later, as the sun crested the mountain, Rotten Peach Mountain had returned to its former tranquility. However, the bloodstains, corpses, and broken body parts scattered across the mountain, and the lingering, thick smell of blood, betrayed the recent ravages of a fierce battle. In an open space near the cave, 17 or 18 emaciated white apes, bound hand and foot by coils of wire vines, lay to one side. Before them lay not only the grimacing head of the White Ape King, but also the dying female Ape King. Seeing their king and queen dying, the white apes' faces were filled with sorrow, their eyes etched with unmistakable fear. Zhao Sheng stood aside, carefully observing the mother Ape King. Seeing a pleading look in her eyes, a glint flashed in Zhao Sheng's eyes. With a flick of his right hand, a 3-inch-long flying sword suddenly appeared in his hand. He stepped forward, aimed at the mother Ape King's swollen belly, and carefully slashed it down. After a moment, when the mother Ape King's last lingering gaze faded, Zhao Sheng lifted a baby white ape in his hands. A moment later, the baby white ape opened its eyes, crying, and its first sight was a man. At this moment, Zhao Jinjian approached Zhao Sheng with a heavy expression on his face. He spoke in a deep voice, 19 people died, 12 in the Xianshan realm, 1 in the middle key refining stage, and 6 in the early key refining stage. 6 more were seriously injured. Furthermore, Zhao Keqing suffered severe chest and lung damage, with his meridian severed. His cultivation has stopped at the 8th key refining stage in this lifetime. Zhao Sheng, overcome with sorrow, sighed. While a tragic victory, Zhao Jinjian consoled him, "It's impossible to defy fate. Heaven destined this calamity for our Zhao family. Fortunately, we ultimately triumphed. Rotten Peach Mountain is ours." Zhao Sheng handed the little white ape to Zhao Jinjian, adding, "This little creature, too. Our family will no longer be short of guardian spirit beasts." After a great battle, there were many chores to tend to, cleaning up the battlefield, burying the members of the clan, collecting the spoils, and so on. After 2 full days of work, the 3 foundation establishment cultivators of the Zhao family finally found time to process the collected treasures. Zhao Jinjian, Zhao Keru, and Zhao Sheng stood beside the pile of treasures and began to sort through them. The first treasure Zhao Sheng picked up wasn't the red-robed elder's storage bag, but the White Ape King's club. As soon as he grasped it, he felt a sudden weight drop. Wow, it must weigh at least 1,000 pounds. Fortunately, he hadn't given the White Ape King a chance to unleash his club skills, or else no one would have been able to withstand a single blow. Huh? Zhao Sheng exclaimed in surprise, his gaze darting towards the sword mark on the club. He saw a flicker of blue light in the indentation. Chapter 97, Zhengjin Mine and White Feather Flower Blooms. Could it be? A thought suddenly struck Zhao Sheng. He immediately tilted the stick and, with a wave of his hand, conjured a stream of water, repeatedly washing over its surface. As the thick layer of blood scab washed away, the stick's true texture gradually emerged. It looked as if it had been melted at high temperatures and then resolidified. The uneven surface was dotted with molten crystals, smooth as glass, but in certain potholes, a few grains of mysterious metal, the size of gravel, shimmered with a blue glow. "Is this Zhengjin?" Zhao Sheng exclaimed in astonishment. "What?" Zhao Jinjian and the others, startled by Zhao Sheng's exclamation, hurried over to investigate. Upon seeing it, they too were stunned. Zhengjin. Among the countless precious metals in the world of immortal cultivation, only Zhengjin, originating from beyond the 9 heavens, could emit this unique, mysterious blue glow. If it truly was Zhengjin, then the Zhao family's sacrifices for Rotten Peach Mountain would have been worth it. Zhengjin is a high-grade natural treasure, commonly used in the refining of magical weapons. In the world of immortal cultivation, there's a unique type of magical weapon called the sword pill. Sword pills are the most advanced of the pseudo-elixirs. Sword cultivators who advance through the use of sword pills are as powerful as those who have condensed their golden pills. Therefore, sword pills have always been a cherished treasure among sword cultivators, and Zhengjin is the most essential ingredient in refining Zhengjin sword pills. After 3 people took turns examining the material, they unanimously concluded that the blue glowing spiritual gold was indeed the legendary Zhengjin. Zhao Sheng put away his smile and decisively stated, "Zhengjin is a derivative of Tebe gold essence. This Zhengjin rod is sufficient evidence that there must be a Zhengjin deposit near Rotten Peach Mountain." Zhao Sheng's certainty stems from the unique properties of Tebe gold essence. This celestial Tebe gold essence spontaneously emits a strange, radiation-like aura. This aura can transform nearby metals into lesser spiritual gold of the same nature, Zhengjin. Zhao Jinjian and Zhao Keru exchanged a look of surprise, then nodded emphatically. Compared to the potential existence of a Zhengjin mine, the treasures within the stone chamber paled in importance. The 3 of them quickly counted the common magical instruments, spirit stones, elixirs, refining herbs, storage bags, and so on, not to mention the vast array of items, all left behind by that unfortunate family. With these items alone, the Zhao family not only recouped their capital but also became immensely wealthy. For the magical instruments alone, even after each member of the Zhao family paid for 2, they still had some left over. This made the 3 marvel at the profound heritage of the 10 dynasties cultivation world, where even a modest foundation-building family could boast immense wealth. Beyond these, several treasures held the greatest value. First, there were 4 spiritual instruments. The first was a damaged spirit fire gourd, containing the red spirit flame, the spiritual fire of heaven and earth, useful for refining elixirs and instruments. Zhao Keru immediately pocketed this spirit fire gourd. The second item was a spiritual artifact, a large red robe, stripped from the red-robed elder. Zhao Jinjian, unfazed by the fact that it had been worn by a deceased person, immediately put it on. The remaining 2 spiritual artifacts were small, dark seal and 12 small flags, each gleaming red and emitting a sweet, lingering aroma. Besides the spiritual artifacts, the most significant acquisition was a tortoise-shell talisman. This too had been contributed by the red-robed elder. Well, in that sense, this man could be considered a treasure-giving sage. This tortoise-shell talisman had been used twice, but it still had one more use. Even so, it was incredibly valuable. After some debating among the 3, Zhao Sheng, the youngest, ultimately accepted it. An hour later, the 3 had cleared the spoils and immediately gathered all the tribesmen to distribute some of the treasures. Among other things, each member was to receive at least 1 magical instrument and 300 spirit stones, with elixirs being provided separately. Since ancient times, military merit has been the most valuable asset, and rewards should be bestowed sooner rather than later. The 3 men followed this principle in distributing the spoils so early. While the Zhao family shared the spoils of the battle at Rotten Peach Mountain, countless immortal cultivation forces in this desolate region launched wars to conquer the mountains and exterminate demons. Simultaneously, a conspiracy centered on a war of expansion unfolded. In a dense forest of towering ancient trees, over 20 demonic wolves leaped and swarmed, besieging a second-level spotted spirit deer. Atop a nearby ancient tree, a giant silver-white wolf, as large as a calf and with a crescent-shaped forehead, stood. The leader stared intently at the second-level spirit deer below, ready to deliver a fatal blow. Suddenly, A petite figure materialized beside the leader. Immediately upon appearing, Huanyang waved her hand and cast a bewitching light. The mere second-level demon beast had no power to resist, its mind instantly captivated. Huanyang casually planted a thought in the leader wolf's soul: humanity must perish. When the white feather flower blooms, I will mobilize the wolf pack to attack and kill the human race. Simultaneously, she pointed out the nearby location of the human race. After doing this, Huanyang vanished in a flash. Ever since leaving Pig Emperor Ridge, Huanyang has been planting similar signals on low-level demonic beasts. She will continue this practice until the day the white feather flower blooms. The greatest strength of a beast tide lies in its sheer numbers and suddenness. A few demonic beasts attacking humanity would be ineffective, providing only spoils. Furthermore, even a large number of first and second-tier demonic beasts would not be able to harm humanity. Huanyang's actions were casual. She primarily targeted powerful demonic beasts above the third tier, capable of rivaling a golden collar. However, demonic beasts above the third tier have already developed intelligence, making it difficult to deceive them with mere bewitching light. To achieve her goal, Huanyang, a seventh-tier great demon, willingly lowered her profile and tirelessly sought out each of these unruly beasts, personally persuading or pacifying them. Huanyang had just passed by. Her target was a third-tier earth-splitting demonic bear in the Black Pine Forest 100 miles away. Unbeknownst to Zhao Sheng and his companions, a catastrophe of ferocious beasts would soon descend upon the countless immortal cultivators in this desolate region when the white feather flowers bloomed next year. Meanwhile, Zhao Sheng, stationed at Rotten Peach Mountain, led his clansmen in gradually expanding their territory and building a safe haven for long-term habitation. The other two Foundation establishment cultivators of the Zhao family had just boarded a cloud boat to escort the spoils back to Taiwu Mountain. Upon returning to Rotten Peach Mountain, they would exchange some of the spoils for various supplies to develop Rotten Peach Mountain. As the cloud boat returned to Taiwu Mountain, Zhao Sheng summoned Zhao Zunjing and revealed the secret of the Jingjin mine, secretly instructing him to search the area for its location. A short while later, Zhao Zunjing obeyed his orders and departed. A day later, Zhao Sheng planted 12 spirit banners throughout Rotten Peach Mountain. The Zhao clan members were astonished to see that the peach blossom miasma from the sky above Rotten Peach Mountain rapidly flowed toward the 12 spirit banners, where it was quickly absorbed and refined. As the peach blossom miasma gradually dissipated, the glow on the spirit banner grew increasingly intense, and clouds gradually condensed across its surface. Finally, the clouds detached themselves from the banner, automatically transforming into rich, sweet, and viscerally sweet pink divine light surrounding the spirit banner. This divine light, the products of the further condensation of the peach blossom miasma, was not only extremely toxic but also incredibly bewildering. A cultivator below the Foundation establishment stage would be instantly killed by a single whiff, while those above the Foundation establishment stage, even if they survived, would be trapped in their own illusions. Chapter 98. It's too close. 3 days later, the peach blossom miasma dissipated, allowing the Zhao family to freely enter and exit Rotten Peach Mountain without the need for miasma-breaking pills. Until this moment, a treasure trove of previously unexplored land finally opened its arms to the Zhao family. Rotten Peach Mountain spans nearly 100 miles, home to countless peach trees. Among them, there are only about 30 magical peaches. The peaches from these trees have golden skin and light red flesh, and are extremely sweet. Consuming these peaches releases a subtle spiritual energy, possessing the properties of partial hair removal and marrow cleansing, significantly improving physical fitness and enhancing physical qualities. No wonder the white apes of Rotten Peach Mountain are so agile, their average physique surpassing that of innate warriors. It's all thanks to these yellow peaches. Besides the magical peaches, Rotten Peach Mountain also boasts a wealth of magical herbs, the oldest of which is over 2,000 years old. For millennia, these herbs remained unharvested, leaving them ripening only to rot in vain. With Rotten Peach Mountain in the hands of the Zhao family, these spiritual herbs finally found a place to use. The Zhao family was now suffering from a shortage of manpower. There was so much to do in developing a spiritual land. Clearing the rotten soil, felling trees, expelling insects and beasts, cultivating spiritual medicinal fields, building dwellings and defensive fortresses, and so on. Even a few dozen people couldn't easily accomplish any of these tasks. Furthermore, a dedicated patrol team had to be established to constantly guard against external enemies and intruding demonic beasts. Even if the entire Zhao family were split in half, it wouldn't be enough. For a time, Zhao Sheng was overwhelmed by countless trivial tasks. Unfortunately, no one was willing to share his burden. The desolate region was fraught with dangers. To ensure the safety of the cloud boat, a foundation establishment cultivator was essential, and Zhao Jinjian was the perfect choice. However, Zhao Jinjian couldn't help Zhao Sheng because he had to navigate the cloud boat constantly between Taiwu Mountain, Jiating Market, and Rotten Peach Mountain. And Zhao Keru, on the other hand, couldn't handle such tasks, and he was also overwhelmed. A great battle at Rotten Peach Mountain consumed all the elixirs that the family had saved. Just the alchemy alone would have kept Zhao Keru busy for a year or two. Time passed little by little, and in the blink of an eye, 2 months had passed. By this time, Zhao Sheng had completely sorted out the numerous trivial matters at Rotten Peach Mountain, and all matters were gradually getting on track. Zhao Sheng was finally able to spare the time to pay attention to other things, such as the most important Zhengjin mine. For more than 2 months, Zhao Xuanjing went out early and came back late every day, running around everywhere. However, he searched the area within 200 miles of Rotten Peach Mountain, but still couldn't find the Zhengjin mine. Zhao Sheng felt a little strange, wondering if his guess was wrong, and the Zhengjin rod was just a coincidence. 3 days later, just when Zhao Sheng wanted to go out and search in person, Zhao Xuanjing came to him with an excited face. "Uncle Qi, I found it." Zhao Sheng jumped to his feet and asked anxiously, "What? You really found the Zhengjin mine?" "Yes, Uncle Qi, look." Zhao Xuanjing nodded and slowly spread out his palm. A handful of Zhengjin particles shimmered with blue light appeared in his palm. "Yes, it's Zhengjin." "Xuanjing, where did you find it?" Zhao Sheng asked excitedly. Zhao Xuanjing smiled and said, "The Zheng gold mine is in a lake over 400 miles from Rotten Peach Mountain. You said that Tebe gold essence would create a large crater when it hits the ground. I followed that clue and initially searched every valley and depression to no avail. A few days ago, as I passed by that wild lake, it occurred to me that perhaps it had been blasted into existence. So I dove down and searched, and I actually found it." Zhao Sheng patted Zhao Xuanjing's arm with joy and praised him. "Xuanjing, you've worked hard." Zhao Xuanjing patted his head with a simple expression and said sheepishly, "Seventh uncle, compared to those uncles and brothers who died for our family, my hard work is nothing." Zhao Sheng said, "Excellent. If everyone in our family thought like you, there's no need to worry about our Zhao family's future prosperity." Half a day later, Zhao Sheng and Zhao Xuanjing landed on the edge of a wild lake. Through the crystal clear water, one could clearly see large swathes of molten, glass-like solidification scattered across the lake's surface. Zhao Sheng looked up to the northeast, his eyes flickering a few times. A moment later, Zhao Xuanjing pulled Zhao Sheng through a thick layer of earth and rock and into the Zhengjin mine. Zhao Sheng stood in the deepest part of the mine, holding a night-shining pearl in his hand. A faint white light spread out, reflecting on the surrounding mine walls. Dots of blue light were reflected from the innermost rock wall. Zhao Xuanjing stepped forward and reached out to touch the rock wall. The yellow light emanating from his hand spread to the nearby rock surface. A layer of rock fell away, and in a blink of an eye, 6 grains of Zhengjin the size of gravel were squeezed out and fell into his hand with a clinking sound. Seeing this, Zhao Sheng asked, "Xuanjing, what's your estimate of the maximum Zhengjin yield from this Zhengjin mine?" "Have you found the Tebe gold essence?" Zhao Xuanjing replied, "Seventh uncle, the rock in this Zhengjin mine is extremely hard. Even Xiaojin and I can't break through it together. Furthermore, it's difficult to break the rock without magic. With magic, at my current level of key refining, I can only dig half a meter a day and collect 100 to 200 Zhengjin grains. As for the Tebe gold essence, I believe it's in the deepest part of the Zhengjin mine. Zhengjin is so precious that it must be kept strictly confidential. Until now, only the 4 of them in the Zhao family knew this secret, and they had no intention of sharing it with anyone else. The more people in the family knew, the more likely it would leak. Therefore, for the time being, Zhao Xuanjing would be the sole miner." Emerging from the mine, Zhao Sheng stood by the lake and gazed northeast. His expression grew solemn as he watched the plumes of black smoke rise from the horizon. "Xuanjing, how far is this place from Flame Ridge?" Zhao Xuanjing shaded his brows with his hand, staring toward the ridge. After a moment's thought, he replied, "About 100 miles, too close, too close." Zhao Sheng muttered to himself, then turned to Zhao Xuanjing and said, "Let's go back to Rotten Peach Mountain." A day later, the Yunzhao returned to Rotten Peach Mountain. Zhao Jinjian had just disembarked when Zhao Sheng dragged him into a secret room, where Zhao Zuanjing and Zhao Keru were already waiting. Zhao Jinjian, surprised, asked, "What's going on? Has something serious happened again?" Zhao Sheng pulled him to a seat and said in a deep voice, "There are indeed two important matters I need to discuss with everyone." Then, Zhao Sheng informed Zhao Jinjian and Zhao Keru of the discovery of the Zhengjin mine and its unsafe proximity to Flame Ridge. Zhao Jinjian and Zhao Keru's expressions grew solemn. Zhao Sheng's meaning was easy to understand. He was clearly stating that the Shen family posed a significant threat. To ensure that the Zhengjin mine remains hidden from outsiders, the Shen family must be driven away or silenced forever. Thanks to fellow reader Mo Qing for the 200 coin tip. Thanks to fellow reader Yongheng Debor for the 100 coin tip. Thanks to fellow reader 202010311154622265 for the 100 coin tip. Beimuyi thanks you. Chapter 99 Give the Shen family a hard time. Are we being overly concerned? The Zhengjin mine is deep beneath the lake. I think it's well hidden, so the Shen family shouldn't discover it, Zhao Keru asked cautiously. Zhao Sheng shook his head and explained, Uncle Ru, we can't just wait and see. Once the Shen family has established roots, their family members could pass by that wild lake at any time. What if they discover the Zhengjin mine? Haha. Zhao Keru gave an awkward laugh. Perhaps by the time they find it, the Zhengjin mine will have been mined out. As long as we destroy all traces, no one will be able to tell there was a Zhengjin mine there. Zhao Keru was a cautious person. His family had suffered a lot of casualties recently, and he didn't want to cause trouble because of a spiritual mine. As he finished speaking, Zhao Sheng retorted, anything done will inevitably leave traces. No one can guarantee that the Shen family won't discover the secret of Yihu. If the Zhengjin mine is discovered by the Shen family, what do you think the first thing they'll do? Zhao Jinjian raised his eyebrows and said coldly, of course, they'll do everything they can to destroy our Zhao family. Zhao Zuanjing then added, the Zhengjin mine's terrain is unique. If anyone has seen it before, they'll definitely recognize it. Seeing this, Zhao Keru could only helplessly ask, then what do you say we should do? As soon as he finished speaking, the three of them said in unison, the first to strike is the strongest, the last to strike will suffer. Zhao Sheng and the other two smiled at their shared empathy. Flame Ridge is an active volcano, with a lava lake nestled in a depression at its summit. Repeated eruptions have shaped countless lava tunnels within the mountain, resembling veins and blood vessels. The sheer number of lava tunnels, interconnected, has created a vast, complex underground labyrinth within Flame Ridge. A colony of fire salamanders has inhabited this subterranean maze for generations. Consequently, when the Shen family attacked Flame Ridge, they were immediately attacked by these salamanders. This presented the Shen family with a formidable challenge. The salamanders exploited the terrain to slither through the maze, launching surprise attacks here and there. Most damningly, they could breathe fire. Imagine walking peacefully through a cavernous tunnel where turning is difficult, only to be suddenly enveloped by a torrent of flames, erupting from the entrance and blasting all the way to the end. Only those members of the Shen family who have suffered such a scorching experience can truly understand the excruciating feeling worse than death. For the past 2 months, the Shen family has been consumed with anxiety and turmoil. They have tried every possible means to eradicate this horde of fire salamanders. Although many earth fire salamanders have died, this group of monsters, led by their second-level leader, has become increasingly cunning and difficult to kill. In the past 2 days, the Shen family has lost 2 members of the third level of key refining, without even encountering the shadow of the earth fire salamander. This has caused Shen Ao, the Shen family's foundation building master, to grow gray with worry. In a large, cleaned-out molten cave, Shen Bai Ao sat across from an old man with long eyebrows. Great Elder, our family has suffered heavy casualties recently. That second-level salamander is too cunning and has slipped away from us time and time again. Why don't we move to another location? Shen Ao asked worriedly. The eldest elder of the Shen family stroked his eyebrows lightly and asked in a light tone, where do you want to transfer to? When Shen Ao heard this, he immediately said excitedly, I think the Rotten Peach Mountain hundreds of miles away is good. I secretly went there to see it the day before yesterday. The Rotten Peach Mountain has been conquered by the Zhao family, so we might as well drive them away. The eldest elder raised his eyelids upon hearing this, his eyes gleamed, and he said in a deep voice, Yang Yao, it is easy to drive away the Zhao family, but aren't you afraid of provoking the damn Shengjie family? Shen Yao looked proud and said wisely, I have already inquired clearly. The Zhao family is marrying only the granddaughter of a Jinden of the Jie family, and that Jinden's Henren has hundreds of grandchildren. It is almost impossible for them to stand up for the in-laws of an ordinary grandchild. The world of immortal cultivation has been a world of the jungle since ancient times. If the Jie family wants to intervene in even such a small matter, it will incur public wrath. The eldest elder was not moved at all after hearing this. He lowered his eyelids again and spoke slowly, Yang Yao, you're right, but our clan has already sacrificed many lives for Flame Ridge. It's unwise to provoke another immortal cultivator family now. Wait another 6 months. If we still haven't taken Flame Ridge by then, I will personally drive the Zhao family out. What do you say? Shen Yao, though reluctant, dared not disobey the great elder's wishes and simply bowed his head. Great elder, that's right. Shen Yao was planning to seize Rotten Peach Mountain, unaware that the Zhao family had already secretly infiltrated Flame Ridge. At this moment, Zhao Xuanjing and Zhao Sheng quietly emerged from a narrow tunnel. The air in the tunnel was murky. Zhao Xuanjing, upon entering, was met with a mouthful of sulfuric acid and spat. Zhao Sheng's face darkened, and he instinctively covered his nose. With his olfactory ability, he could no longer tolerate this harsh environment. Seventh uncle, why would the Shen family set their sights on such a shady place? Zhao Xuanjing squatted on the ground, a piece of Xiao Jin's body wrapped around his legs, his face filled with disdain. The golden ring spirit earthworm prefers shade to sunlight and hates the hot, dry environment of Flame Ridge, so only a small part of its body was exposed. Such nonsense. Don't forget why we're here. As soon as he finished speaking, Zhao Sheng quickly channeled his spiritual energy and cast a dust purification technique on himself, filtering out most of the air before feeling a little better. Zhao Xuanjing said innocently, I haven't forgotten. We're going to identify the ley lines in Flame Ridge, and map the underground maze. Then, find an opportunity to give the Shen family a hard time. Well, now we'll split up. You go down, I'll go up. By the way, do you still have enough invisibility and soul-suppressing talismans? Yes, I didn't use much last time. Okay, be careful. The two said goodbye, and Zhao Xuanjing grabbed Xiaojin and burrowed into the ground to leave. Zhao Sheng skillfully cast the invisibility talisman and the spirit-suppressing talisman to conceal his form, then swiftly traveled through the tunnels. His divine sense allowed him to explore with remarkable efficiency. After half a day's exploration, he had quickly mapped the directions and routes of dozens of tunnels. By then, the Shen family remained oblivious to the two men's shameful theft, still intently engaged in a daily battle of wits and courage with the earth-fire salamander, barely paying attention to their surroundings. Thus, a month passed swiftly. That day, the sky was clear and the breeze was gentle. On the central peak of Rotten Peach Mountain, over 20 stone and wood houses had been built around a cave. A stone wall, 2 feet high and 1 foot thick, shimmering with the aura of a defensive formation, protected the entire complex. A small settlement had begun to take shape. In the central stone house, with the exception of Zhao Sheng, all the key members of the Zhao family were seated. Their expressions were solemn, as they listened intently to Zhao Xuanjing's explanation. Chapter 100. Poisonous Show. Zhao Xuanjing stood before the crowd, speaking freely. On the wall opposite him hung a massive map, nearly 10 feet long and wide, depicting all the tunnels and terrain of the Flame Ridge underground maze. The underground fire veins have 27 key nodes. Only by simultaneously destroying 2/3 of them will Flame Ridge suddenly erupt with a bang. Then, endless magma will erupt, flooding the entire underground maze. Combined with this sudden, collective frenzy of the underground fire salamanders, will collapse most of the passages, leaving only one escape route. What interesting things do you think will happen then? It had to be said that after spending so much time with Zhao Sheng, Zhao Xuanjing had developed a certain wickedness. Although he spoke these last words in a teasing tone, the cruelty and ruthlessness within couldn't be concealed. But, treat your enemies like the autumn wind sweeping away fallen leaves, ruthlessly and mercilessly. This is a great advantage in the world of immortal cultivation. As the saying goes, only a completely wiped out enemy is a good opponent. However, while a plan may be good, it must be fully implemented. Zhao Jinjian was the first to raise a question. Xuanjing, how can we simultaneously destroy 2/3 of the 27 nodes? And how can we drive the earth fire salamanders into a frenzy? Just as he finished speaking, Zhao Keru joined in the questioning. This alone probably won't be enough to kill the two foundation establishment cultivators of the Shen family. How to deal with them is our biggest challenge. Faced with the doubts, Zhao Xuanjing smiled naively. Seventh uncle said he has a solution. I believe him. Hearing that Zhao Sheng had come up with a solution, everyone felt a sense of relief. Over the years, Zhao Sheng had repeatedly made great contributions to the family, and everyone had long been convinced of his intelligence and methods. Just then, Zhao Sheng, looking tired, walked into the stone chamber. He overheard the crowd's questions as he entered. As soon as Zhao Sheng entered, he confidently declared, in response to the fourth master's question, I've devised two methods. I'd like to share them with you for your feedback. First, how can we simultaneously destroy the earth vein nodes? I've created a second-level true talisman called the Mother-Child Chain Talisman, which is perfect for this purpose. The Mother-Child Chain Talisman is a second-level true talisman described in the Yuxuan Secret Talisman Sutra. It consists of a mother talisman and a child talisman. There's only one mother talisman, while the number of child talismans is unlimited, depending on the talisman master's level of cultivation. Activating the mother talisman also activates the child talisman simultaneously. There are many ways to drive the earth fire salamander mad. It just so happens that we have the powerful red cloud banner, combined with the threat of a volcanic eruption. With these three combined, the Shen family will be doomed. Poison, too poisonous. Zhao Sheng's words sent a chill down everyone's spine. Some couldn't help but wonder, we're both of the Zhao family, so why are you, Zhao Chong, such a poisonous talent? Zhao Sheng was unaware of the people secretly criticizing him. He continued, to ensure the annihilation of the two Shen family foundation establishment masters, I've deliberately left a path open. I'm just waiting for them to break out and give them a big surprise. Although Zhao Sheng didn't reveal the surprise, after this meeting, the Zhao family mobilized the vast majority of their manpower and resources into the plan to destroy the Shens. A month later, with all the planned supplies complete, Zhao Sheng and Zhao Xuanjing secretly returned to Flame Ridge. Returning to the underground maze, they felt as familiar as if they were back home, needing no map or repeated instructions. They exchanged a glance, nodded, and each took a storage bag, beginning their separate tasks. In a tunnel, lava flowed slowly, when suddenly, a human head emerged from the tunnel ceiling. Zhao Xuanjing fell backward and pressed his hand against the stone wall. A yellow light emerged, and a deep stone pit suddenly appeared in the wall. Zhao Xuanjing expertly removed a talisman and 2 fire thunder seeds, placed them in the stone pit, and then filled it with magic. This was already the 12th Li-line node he'd buried. 11 more remained, so they had to hurry. Xiaojin, let's go. Zhao Xuanjing slapped the stone wall and shouted. Whoosh! As soon as he finished speaking, he was instantly pulled back into the earth. The tunnel quickly returned to dead silence, as if the recent incident had been an illusion. 2 hours later, the sun set and night fell. Zhao Sheng and Zhao Xuanjing met at the edge of a wild lake. Zhao Sheng gazed at the faint blue starlight rising from the lake's depths, his expression becoming serious and solemn. Xuanjing, are they all buried? Seventh uncle, rest assured I'll take care of things, that's all right. In 3 days, when the clansmen arrive at Flame Ridge, we'll launch immediately. Yes, Zhao Xuanjing nodded silently. With his seventh uncle around, he was too lazy to think and simply followed his instructions. 3 days passed in a flash. At noon, as the Shen family members entered the underground maze, Zhao Sheng quietly appeared in a tunnel within the maze. This tunnel contained a small lava pool, where 5 fire salamanders, with golden scales, crocodile-like mouths, and bodies resembling giant lizards, floated. This was a lair of fire salamanders, discovered by Zhao Sheng 2 months ago. Finding the lair wasn't difficult, the challenge was killing the salamanders before they could escape. The Shen family had been battling the fire salamanders for nearly 6 months, and the reason they were still struggling was due to the salamanders' unfortunate habit of escaping into the lava when they couldn't defeat them. Watching the fire salamanders bathing in the lava, Zhao Sheng smiled faintly, pulled out a red cloud banner from his pocket, and slowly waved it. Instantly, wisps of pink mist emanated from the banner and quickly spread throughout the tunnel. As the pink mist thickened, the fire salamanders in the lava pool lifted their heads and inhaled the air. They quickly grew excited and agitated, their golden eyes turning a crimson. Seeing the fire was hot enough, Zhao Sheng used the red cloud banner to draw back most of the mist from the tunnel. then rushed to another nest. Time ticked by, and Zhao Sheng successfully refreshed all the nests. Meanwhile, the Shen family was pleasantly surprised to discover that the earth-fire salamanders didn't flee upon encountering humans, but instead attacked them like crazy, desperately. This was exactly what the Shen family wanted. They weren't afraid of the earth-fire salamanders going berserk and fighting, but rather of them fleeing when they couldn't defeat them. Over the past 6 months, the Shen family had suffered greatly from this, and were practically sickened. However, a few members of the Shen family were wary of this unusual situation. However, they couldn't immediately detect what was happening, so they could only report it to the 2 foundation establishment masters of the Shen family. Shen Ao and the Great Elder were already aware of this anomaly. The Great Elder, suspicious by nature, immediately proposed evacuating the underground labyrinth, while Shen Ao was very excited, thinking that this was a godsend opportunity to catch all the underground fire salamanders in one fell swoop. Meanwhile, Zhao Sheng had quietly left the underground labyrinth and flew to a dense forest west of the Flame Ridge. Thanks to book friend Bujin Ho Li for the 1,500 coin reward. Thanks to book friend Kang Lei Yu Sheng Ji Feng Wu Yu for the 300 coin reward. Thanks to book friend Angler on the Crescent Moon for the 100 coin reward. Thanks to book friend Muse Io Sang for the 100 coin reward. Thanks to book friend Zhu Xian Zhe for the 100 coin reward. Thanks to book friend Shen Shui Lao Gui for the 100 coin reward. Thanks to book friend Han Jiang 321 for the 100 coin reward. By May thanks you. End of this chapter. Thank you so much for reading until the end. Don't forget to give it a like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription or donation encourages us to continue. Thank you all. See you in the next video.